just a. Are you going live?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm going live too. I'm gonna go live.
All right. I think that did it.
You are live. All right. How's my audio sounding to you, my man?
Good, especially the closer you get to the mic.
How are you? How you been this week?
Oh, I'm absolutely friggin' excellent, honestly. I had a great weekend. Little hardcore show, like local bands. Some buddies of mine. They were playing just up the street from me, and had a blast. That girl I was telling you about that I was going to go on a date with, she actually came down, and we're actually planning on doing something on Wednesday. And not to mention, of course, I have my Super Bowl party this weekend, so things are just really good. I'm just trying to, like, I guess, keep busy. The issue right now is just making enough money to make sure like I got everything taken care of and whatnot. Like I got
Right.
my pizza shifts later on this week, and I'm just trying not to spend too much. That way, I have enough for the date Wednesday, and supplies for the party, and gas and shit like that. So but, apart from all that, like I'm doing really good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, the weekend in between for the bye week for the Super Bowl is always a little weird.
Yeah.
Um, what's been going on in the news? I mean, it's mostly Israel, Gaza. Everyone's talking about Trump polls and how he's now beating Biden handily, but everybody still hates both of these candidates. So I don't
I
know if
mean,
you
there
want to
there
get right
was
into
there
that.
was the South Carolina primaries, but here, one second.
Oh yeah, that's right. Hold on, let me bring this up. Can oh, you're checking the audio?
Yeah, it looks.
Can you check my channel?
Yeah, one. I'll pull it up. So the only issue I notice is you're slightly quieter than me, but I can actually adjust that myself. I can actually make
Yeah,
it
but
so I'm a little bit quieter. Otherwise, like it's good.
all right.
It,
Well,
it,
I'll do some more technical knowledge. Maybe there's some sort of
right. If there's like any adjustment you can make to like the input volume on your mic, then it would help a little bit. But otherwise,
yeah.
like,
I think we got to live with it. I think we got
yeah,
to live with it from now. I'll just speak up a little bit today. All right. So we do have two viewers in my chat. If you have anything you want to talk to, oh, just lost one. If you have anything you want us to talk about, let us know. I sent out a notice to a few friends to see if we can get some love on topics to discuss. But yeah, the South Carolina primary, kind of a
yeah,
who cares type of deal. I mean, the thing that I always tell people to pay attention to whenever primary election results come out is the number of votes. I mean, Biden got 126,000 votes. Whoop de doo. Like
yeah.
you're telling me a grassroots, a well-financed grassroots effort just on South Carolina couldn't have made that more complicated for him.
Right.
Absolutely.
No kidding.
Absolutely. That few voters, I'm telling you, man, the
No
name of the
kidding.
game is primaries. It's not good enough to vote in November. You got to vote 6 to 8 months prior to November for your vote to really matter. You
Mhm.
vote twice in an election year. That's the jam. That's the new message is you vote twice. Like it's
Yeah.
I need two voter stickers every year.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm actually looking at and that's a whole thing. Like Dean Phillips was talking on MSNBC about that. Like primaries are super important. I mean, I'm looking at the primary results right now from 2020, and it shows. I mean, because Biden got like 120,000 something this time. Back then, he got 262,000, and in second place, just behind him, like you're saying how any grassroots campaign could have easily achieved that. Yeah, Bernie Sanders got 106,000, like so a little shy, but like still like it's sad how low the turnout was in South Carolina. There's not there's just the excitement isn't there.
The biggest barrier to entry for political relevance in America is voter paperwork. It's just that simple. You got to get people. You got to get people to take a
Yeah,
few hours because it does. It takes a few hours to figure out. Like even if you get them to mail in, I've been saying mail in ballots ever since I was on that election in 2018 in Tahoe. I was like, we got to get these. Like voting's a pain in the ass, especially
yeah,
for parents and in urban and suburban areas. We got to make it easier. And like campaign election day being a national holiday, it's a good talking point. Probably not going to happen
right,
anytime soon, but it's nice to talk about these things and hopefully promote them within the left because I don't think the left is responding well to this woke agenda, like go woke, go broke bullshit. I know it. I know it shouldn't be working, but it's working for some people, and that's kind of a bummer. You know what
right.
I mean?
Yeah,
Because it's like all it is a new word for political correctness. That's all I see it as.
yeah, I completely agree. It the process could definitely be made a little easier. I convinced my roommate to vote, and she got her primary ballot in the mail, and it is a little bit complicated. But once you like figure out like oh you just got to put in the right information, and then get an envelope, get a stamp, and then just mail it out, so that way you can get your the proper ballots and whatnot. It's not too complicated. And of course, like uh, the more young people that we get voting, like the better, regardless. Like actually get them involved in the electoral process instead of whining on the internet.
I think also too, like I don't know if we've touched on this, but the appropriate use of celebrities,
Yeah,
and because there are a lot of celebrities who want to make a difference, and the most interesting thing about celebrities is when you see them do normal things. So what about if we just had these celebrities like do have like voter parties or something ridiculous and make it into like an event? I mean, market it, and you can get corporate sponsorships, the whole nine. I don't give a
right.
shit. But the point is that like we is our creativity. So
Hmm.
let's find ways to leverage that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think I
So anyway, yeah. So the turnout, the primary. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no. It's a bit choppy, like slow a little bit right now. But yeah, I even saw like a little ad with it was a little awkward, like Joe Biden and Barack Obama just like trading lines, talking about like like we need you to vote and this and that. Something like I don't know what it was, but like uh it's kind of gross, honestly. Like
Oh,
this insistence that like the Democratic Party should rely on the endorsements of popular figures, be them celebrities or political or whatnot, because like I think actually like making like substantive policy differences, like whether campaigning on them or otherwise, that actually gets people excited to vote. Not the fact, oh, this personality that I actually enjoy or whatever or that I follow happens to endorse this political candidate. I guess that means I gotta vote for them. Like people don't work like that. No, like there has to be something like worth actually like taking your time and going out and voting for, not just because somebody because they got an endorsement from somebody that you like.
so what are your thoughts on this whole Taylor Swift mania?
I mean, it's really funny because Republicans still think that like I mean they're even worse than the Democrats when it comes to like relying on big figures to like stand with them or like just be aligned with them even if it's like vaguely, like I see Danny Trejo in like conservative like media and whatnot. It's
John
like
Voight. Yeah, it's John.
yeah.
The big ones are John Voight, Dean Kane.
Yeah.
Who's that guy? James Woods.
James Woods, yeah.
Um, yeah, Jimmy Woods is a big one.
Kid
And
Rock,
then
Ted
oh,
Nugent.
Kurt Russell
Oh yeah,
is a hardcore conservative, which is disappointing. He's actually from Massachusetts,
right.
weirdly enough.
Kirstie Alley,
But
Tim
anyway,
Allen, all
um,
yeah.
oh, the big one though was Kanye, dude. Remember when Kanye crossed over? They all got huge hard-ons for Kanye, and it was
Yeah.
like, I mean, it was pathetic.
Mhm.
They're so, but it's indicative of what I talk about in my videos of like they're so desperate for relevance. They're desperate to matter. They're desperate for purpose.
Yeah, for
They're not.
real.
They're not like. They don't have like their sense of self is attached to their team.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about too. It's like they would much rather uh, prop up these celebrities as if it means anything because they don't have anything. I mean, the Democrats aren't as bad, but like for crying out loud, like don't copy the Republicans. Actually champion the policies that you've passed. Actually talk about your accomplishments or what you're actually fighting for because the Republicans sure as hell don't have anything right now. And what's even more pathetic is take the border for example. Like there's a Senate, like the Senate's looking over this border deal or whatever, and
Hmm.
even though it a lot of what's in the bill is like handouts to well not exactly handouts but uh, policies that Republicans have been fighting for, policies that Republicans would otherwise agree with and have been fighting for and whatnot for a long time. But a lot of them are saying that they're not going to vote for it. And the biggest reason why is because I mean they're not going to come out and say this, but they won't be able to use it as an
Yeah.
election issue
Right.
an election strategy to like scare their voters into coming out and voting for them like they don't want it solved. They don't actually want to do anything about it. They just want to use it as a crutch, as a boogeyman, as a scapegoat, in order to scare their voters into coming out and voting for them. Like they don't actually care about making.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's a popular kind of analysis is to kind of see the. It's so obvious with the Republicans how they're just trying to like they're not going to let them do anything because
Hmm.
then we can't complain that they didn't try to do anything. But it's like the biggest issues I think they're going to drive people to the polls are first and foremost women
Hmm.
because
Yep.
their reproductive rights are under assault.
Yeah. I mean, if
And then I think to a lesser extent the border, but the border is a quagmire of misinformation.
big
I
time,
mean, honestly, like
big
it's
time.
kind of like the Middle East to me in a way where it's like I know I can do my homework, I can use multiple sources,
Yeah.
I can talk to people who know more than me, I can ask questions, I can listen, I can really, really try hard not to judge, right? But
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, I just I don't believe I can comprehend what's really happening until I
Right.
go there.
Exactly. And now, and like a lot of actual MAGA types, a lot of actual patriots have actually taken a trip down to the border, and some of them are quoted as saying, "Huh, it's not actually so bad down here. There's like because there's no invasion. It's just excuse me. You'll get like a few crossings here and there, like apprehensions and whatnot. But of course, like all these people believe that it's like this giant sensational thing because this is like an over sensationalized issue. And so like I mean sure, like whoever you are, if you care about the board that much, go down there and take a look and see how bad it is. Is it really is it about to be a friggin' civil war? No, it's not. It's not as crazy as the Republican media you consume would make it out to be. And touching on them not wanting to actually change anything and not actually want to like pass anything to make a difference. I believe the Mexican like government has even told be it Texas or Border Patrol or National Guard, whatever. Like our military will work with you like on the border. We'll step up like our efforts to actually share intel and like actually work together on curbing border issues and whatnot. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure like Republicans in Texas and whatnot are like, oh no thanks. You know, it's like
Yeah, but they didn't. They just. I mean, honestly, this is what I'm talking about with like aggressive politics. Is
mhm,
if Texas tried to pull the shit that their governor Abbott has been
yeah.
pulling, I would federalize that entire state, and I all the way up in as much as I can, as much as the limits of the law.
Yeah.
I would push every boundary, say no, you're not in control, and then make it a point all the way up until election day, or until
Yeah.
you get some, or until, or there's a point of leverage, right? I'm going to
Mhm.
federalize Texas until we pass the new border law.
No,
There
no
you go.
kidding. Yeah, completely agree. Like Biden needs to do something immediately to put Texas in their place and make sure they know no federal law outweighs state law. You will like our jurisdiction it holds sway over yours, so you're going to let our our border patrol get in there and do what they need to do, and you're going to sit and be happy about it. You're not going to make any gripes about it. Like period.
All right, the border's a mess. The
Yeah.
Middle East is a mess.
Yeah.
Lefties want to fix climate change, but it's just not a voter issue for the voters that matter. Everyone, as
Unfortunately.
Roosevelt's, as FDR said, everyone votes their pocketbooks. I think it was FDR. Um, man,
Mhm.
it's gonna be one hell of a year. I was thinking about what you were saying with celebrities and how to like get people into politics with like this Taylor Swift thing going on, and
Yeah.
she's legitimately there's like a video of her kind of being like, whether I like it or not, like I'm gonna get judged for this. So do I want to make sure
Yeah.
I'm on the right side of history? And that's great. And she doesn't need to tell them to vote for anybody. She just needs to tell them to vote, and chances are that'll break in favor of Biden big time. And that's
Which
like
yeah.
that's normie lesson. That's normie lesson number one for
Mhm.
people who we have to kind of stratify of people who are like, are you like politically savvy? Do you kind of know these basic things? National politics in America is about participation. When turnout wins, the left wins. And a lot of
Yeah.
normies don't know that basic lesson.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And that's why, like, over the past week, the conservative right has been just having a full blown meltdown because, like, if they can't control this pop queen, this country star, um, like they're not mad about like the fact that she's gotten so much attention like in football, like on football screens and whatnot, which she really like hasn't honestly. Like her screen time is like mere seconds compared to like the rest of the broadcast. It's not because of that. It's not because of the Travis Kelsey relationship or whatever. It's because she dared to tell her fan base of mostly young women to get out and vote, and that terrifies the shit out of the Republicans because what they do, they elected Trump, who put in three conservative Supreme Court justices. They overturned Roe versus Wade, and now women's reproductive rights are left up to the states. And now we're getting all sorts of horror stories. We're getting women that are being arrested or facing charges because they dared to leave their state to get an abortion that they desperately needed to do. And now like they're still energized. They're still, I mean, obviously Joe Biden's not that exciting, but for the next 4 years, for him to potentially choose a new Supreme Court justice or two, I don't know who would be next, but that alone warrants a vote for him, given how many people care about Roe versus Wade being overturned.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit tough to pull it off now because it's going to look desperate. And he thinks that, see, the
Right.
traditional DNC thinking is like they work backwards from established voters, people who are reliably going to vote. And
Yeah.
that's going to encourage you to play to the middle.
Yeah.
And if, as opposed to getting participation up, which kind of demands that you go further left, because getting participation up means younger voters.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just this this tug of war here between these two schools of thought, and the establishment is going to win. As
Yeah.
far as the Supreme Court goes, we got to pack the court. I think
Yes.
we're getting there. Like we're getting there as a side of the aisle to the point of just like fuck this. I don't
Yeah.
care what the precedent is. I
Yeah.
don't care.
Hmm.
This woman Amy Coney Barrett is a psycho.
Hmm.
She is a
Yeah.
Jesus freak Bible beater to the hilt.
Yep.
I mean, people talk about, let's talk about political marketing. I got a term for you, okay? Because I've been getting into it with this guy. We're going to react to a video of his in a minute. But
Cool.
the thing that I called him on X was not just a Bible beater, but and he has a lot of videos on defending Christian nationalism. I think that's the one we're going to watch, or watch at least a
Yeah.
little bit of it. But I want to start calling it Confederate Christian nationalism,
Yeah.
because the word Confederate has a lot of value and it's not being utilized.
Hmm.
And it also is like predominantly a rural Christian, Southern Christian kind of cultural facet.
Yeah.
And we don't need to be having like Christian nationalism. Like it doesn't sound like the worst thing to me,
It's all regressive.
because I know plenty of good Christians. Like nationalism doesn't sound
Right.
that bad. It's not a matter of what it actually means. It's a matter of what it sounds like.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like that. Like those. Like three words alone. Confederate Christian nationalism are all, in my viewpoint, words that indicate regression. Confederacy, regression. You want to go back to a state, a failed state, like a state that never came to be. Christianity, a regression of free and independent thinking, a very narrow view, a very narrow worldview. Lots of rules. You can only live a certain way, follow the Bible, etc., etc. And nationalism. You want to like limit your scope of how to change the world to these made up borders that you happen to be born within. You know, I don't abide by any of that. It's so small minded and like insulated. I can't. I don't know why people adhere to it. Like in general, any of those things.
I mean, it has to do with their upbringing.
Of course, of course.
Adulthood. I feel like adulthood is about a lot of things, but fundamentally, adulthood I think is about coming to terms with what you're not going to get from life,
Yeah.
and what is attainable. And we're going to talk about, my friend Larry here in my chat says, why do red voting counties only contribute 30% of yearly GDP? And then his second comment is, why are 99% of cities with ports of trade, quote, liberal? All right, so let's
Mhm.
do the second one first because it's really easy.
Yeah.
Coastal areas, urban areas, the culture war does not work with these people because they are not afraid of people that are different from them. The
Bingo.
urban and suburban life experience does not make Trump's xenophobia, racism, Islamophobia, homophobia. It does not make any of those things work because they see people who are just from all of those categories on the bus going to work every day,
Yep.
on the subway going to work every day, at
Exactly.
work
Yep.
every day, every day.
Yep.
I was fortunate enough to go have an educational experience where that endowed me with the interest in people that are different from me. But most people, I was thinking about it today, and most people have to do it because they have to, and it's usually a work environment. And so that's the answer to your question, Larry, the second one. Why are 99% of cities with ports of trade, quote, liberal? And I would also say that's also where the progressive stuff is, and that's
Hmm.
also where labor organization comes from. It starts in urban areas.
Yeah,
Think about Detroit back in
industry.
the Jimmy Hoffa era. And then let's do this one. Why do red voting counties only contribute 30% of yearly GDP?
There's
Because
nothing there.
America because yeah, well, you can even go a step for even go higher up into the stratosphere.
Hmm.
America is no longer a labor-based economy. America is an intellectual property-based economy. Specifically, specifically the areas of most interest to what I'm talking about are Silicon Valley and Hollywood and Seattle, Washington, with Microsoft and all the defense contractors up there, Boeing,
Yeah.
SpaceX here, all of the cutting edge, all of the frontier of economic growth is taking place in places like California. It's being financed from places like Chicago, New York, and then those just the corridor, right? It's DC, Philly, New York, and Boston. Like that's the intellectual back. That's the brain of the country, really,
Yeah,
and the money.
exactly.
So that's where all of the crucial decisions that influence the society, and there are fewer people in those areas. And so, yeah, to get back to stateless patriots here, much simpler and much, by extension, much more profound answer. There are fewer people there, and GDP means gross domestic product. It is a formula for calculating spending because
Yeah.
in capitalism, spending is what is used to gauge the performance of an economy. Now, if
Yes.
I were a politician and trying to make someone look stupid, a politician look stupid, I would say, do you know what the algebraic equation for GDP is? Do you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know. Like, but yeah, no.
So it's C for consumer spending plus G for government spending plus I, which stands for investment, but it should stand for infrastructure. Okay.
Hmm. Right.
And then the big one, NX, net exports. Okay. How
Yeah.
much money did we spend coming in versus going out? So that's the formula. And that's why you can always bring conservatives back to using, these economic metrics to evaluate the performance of a president because they're all inherently flawed. I mean, we're all
Yeah.
trying, like, unemployment is kind of the starting point for any conversation, I believe, that uses statistics to evaluate the performance of an economy. That's really what,
Yeah.
the biggest thing is unemployment.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I pretty much agree with all that. And when it comes down to it, like, I mean, if you want to make a comparison between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and whether or not like one party or the other is like stronger for for the overall GDP. I think for the last, geez, like 60 years or something like that, comparing. Um, I don't think it has so much to do with GDP as much as it does like the overall uh, federal budget. But after every Republican administration, they left office with a budget deficit, and Democrats left office with a budget
The
surplus.
surplus.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
The last president to balance the budget was Bill Clinton.
Oh yeah,
Yep. Yep. Good
yeah. I
old
think
Bill.
I think I think he when he entered the office, he inherited uh, a, like a miniature recession or something like that, or was that later on in his presidency?
Yeah. I don't. So no, he came in with a pretty hot economy.
Okay,
Yeah, he had a pretty hot economy throughout.
gotcha.
Yeah, Ross. Ross Perot.
Mhm.
So Steve Kornacki is. from MSNBC. So
I
he's the
think
poll
so.
geek at MSNBC. He
Hmm.
knows polls really well.
Yeah.
Historical polls too. Is very impressive guy.
Yeah.
Tons of respect for him. But he has a thesis about the 1992 presidential election where a lot of people, the traditional analysis of that election is that Ross Perot gave Bill Clinton the presidency by taking close to 19% of the popular vote
Yep.
away from George H.W. Bush. Now, Kernacki comes up with all of these polls analysis and how it would have split this way, it would have split that way. We wouldn't have all bailed and gone to Bush. I'm like, no, dude, they would have all bailed and gone to Bush. I don't care what they said in a poll. Like Slick Willie from Arkansas with the sex history was not going to be getting the evangelical vote, man. And that's what Ross Perot got. Ross Perot got like the hardest of hardcore conservatives. You're telling me they're going to go to Clinton before they go to George H.W. Bush, dude? Give me a
Yeah.
break.
No.
So anyway, that
No.
changed history and gave us the Clinton era. And
Yeah.
one of my bigger
That's a.
issues with Obama was appointing Hillary as Secretary of State, because
Mhm.
if she had not been Secretary of State, then she might have disappeared, and or she would have had a tougher road to get to the nomination in 2016, because she was one of the most despised. I mean, that's what our legacy is in
Yeah.
presidential politics is putting up people that the public hates.
Yeah, yeah, especially when you consider like how dirty she fought in the 2008 presidential election and like was taking jabs. Like I think she took out an ad going after Obama. Who do you want to be there for the 3 a.m. phone call or whatever? You want someone with experience or something like that. And
No, it was who do yeah, someone who already knows the leaders. She's like, oh, she already knows all these people, so she's
right.
in the rev. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think if Obama, well, Obama chose Biden to, I guess, ease the concerns of the, I guess, the rural white voter or whatever, which I you could say helped get him like elected, obviously, but I think if he actually went ahead and picked Hillary Clinton for his vice president, I think she would have had a much greater chance of winning in 2016 if she ran for president.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair and probably would have been appropriate. I mean, shame on Obama, not Hillary, but shame on Obama for not picking a woman or someone else of
Sure.
color for a VP and showing
Right.
some courage, because there's no way he was going to lose to McCain. I mean,
Right.
McCain was coming in off the heels like that was, I have a saying that the only time the Democrats win the presidency is when it's handed to them on a silver platter of failure, or some nut job like Ross Perot comes in and is a complete X factor. But Reagan got elected because Reagan blew out Carter, because
Yeah.
Carter was really screwing up with that, Iran,
Yeah. Iran
um,
Contra.
the hostage, the no, the hostage crisis.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but anyway, yeah, Nightline. God, Ted Koppel like destroyed that poor Sunday school teacher, man. But you know what Carter represents to me historically is a reaction to Nixon. Really, it was like
Yeah.
we had the crook liar, a dirty guy who brought shame, unprecedented shame upon the presidency. Let's
Yeah.
get someone we know of the utmost moral caliber who obviously cares about people, and he turned out to be too good for the system.
For
He
real.
turned out to be
To
like
this
not
day,
recognized that like,
to
yeah,
this day,
yeah,
he is
yeah.
too. Yeah. Like excuse me. I think he still does like charity work and whatnot. Sorry. He I mean back like a few years back, I think I forget who it was that interviewed him. I want to say it was Democracy Now, but I think they just posted about it. Him talking about like just the realities of Israel and Gaza and like what Israel continues to get away with, and he the way he spoke, like he clearly saw right through it, like The man was politically savvy and like understood how everything worked. He just couldn't. He just couldn't hold on to it like at the time, I suppose. And Reagan was the biggest mistake America has made in the past half century.
We have a correction. Thunderbird says no, it was Reagan who was negotiating there with Iran to create hostage crisis for Carter. I know that Reagan's. I know that there were hostages that were released on Reagan's inauguration.
Right. Yeah, because I think
That was the hostage crisis. What year? What?
I think it was
It was Iran. Yeah, it was Iran.
1979.
Yeah.
I think it was 1979 when that
No,
when
but
all
they
that
were
went down.
released. They were released on January 20th, 1981. I think it was about a year and a half that they were hostages for.
Gotcha.
Iran was going to release hostages under Carter, but Reagan promised them weapons to hold on to them. There we go. Thank you, Thunderbird.
That's
Yes.
fucking
1980s history,
right.
very important.
That's fucking
Very
right.
important. Very
Yeah.
Thunderbird. Hey, Thunderbird, find me on Twitter or X, or my email is in my thing. If you want to be on the show, sound like a smart guy, we'll get you on here for a guest appearance if you want. We are extremely loyal to our early followers.
That's right. And Reagan ended up lying about that shit too. Like he literally straight up fucking lied about selling weapons to Iran in exchange for the hostages. Fucking
Yep.
disgusting. And America still fucking reelected him a few years later. Uh
Yeah, well, that's because they had that other guy,
who
Walter Mondale, who was like the
who's
weakest guy ever,
so
who
weak.
said, we're going to raise taxes.
Oh yeah, that's a winning
So,
fucking
do you want to
strategy.
do this? Yes, Iran Contra. Yes, Thunderbird. I remember Iran Contra well. I know a lot about my 1980s history is good, but 1990s is better just because I lived through it and I've discovered it more recently. I've learned a lot about the 1980s when I was in college, so I've forgotten a little bit about that. But do we want to try a reaction video, or what do you think?
I say let's go for it. Let's see if we can get this
All right.
get this going.
All right, I want you to meet Reed
Oh.
Uberman.
Biden visits Emmanuel AME Church.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so have you heard of this guy?
I hate Milo Yiannopoulos. He's awful. I remember when he was
so
first
that's-
popping off, like some years back. Oh,
All right,
man.
so you're gonna love Reed here. Reed calls himself indie thinker. Okay, you see the
Really?
indie thinker down here, indie thinker,
Uh-huh.
and in his description, in addition to an indie thinker, he is quote a Christian apologist.
Oh God, those are always so fun.
So he's already a walking, talking contradiction.
Yeah.
He is very. I've checked out his Instagram. He is a committed believer, man. This guy really believes what he's saying, and that's why I argue like this is why it's so dangerous, because this guy actually comes across like someone you could have a decent conversation with if he would just leave the Jesus out of it, but he can't.
Yeah.
He can't. I think he actually has natural like empathetic instincts and wants to help people, but somewhere along the way he got convinced that, hey, this whole hardcore Jesus thing works for me. It can work for everybody, and it'll make me feel really good if I can convince others to do what I do. So
Yeah,
let's see what.
There's nothing as scary as true believers, especially when they have power.
Joe Biden visits Emmanuel AME Church to pander for the black vote for 2024.
Probably turn up just a
And
little
all the internet grew strangely silent about Christian nationalism.
But the people are retarded.
bit.
What happened to
I
Rob
love that clip.
Reiner's new scathing documentary about the separation of church and state? Where are progressive Christians crying their eyes out that religion is combining with politics when Joe Biden does it? The only way to solve this is with a debate on the subject. And we'll look at a fascinating one today on Indie Thinker. If you're a fan of the show, if this show has been beneficial, is to give. And we humbly ask that you would consider Indie Thinker as a place where right now in the early stages of preparing a documentary on the epic, you can help us get to the finish, put this film together. If you want to
Jesus
not only
Christ.
support this channel and what we've done in
Gotta do that promotion.
for there to be life, It necessitates with the conclusion that based upon how much fine-tuning took place on our planet for there to be life, it necessitates that we believe that there is a designer behind it.
No.
Now, for those of you
no, there's
who have
not.
listened...
Okay,
No.
so intelligent design, okay?
Who designed the designer, dude?
So this should be replaced. There's actually a negotiation here to be had intellectually, okay?
Yeah.
And the negotiation is the concept of the prime mover, okay? Because and
Right.
that's just another science calls it the singularity, which is just what's it called? The Big Bang. It's the
Right.
original Big Bang.
Yeah.
Is called a singularity. So you just say it's the prime mover that like it does have purpose. Like there is a force that originally created the universe, but it is beyond our comprehension.
Yeah.
It is beyond our comprehension. We have no tools. We have no ways of figuring it out. And they
Yeah.
just can't get past it. They have to create
Right.
a connection to the intellectual legitimacy of science.
The good old God of the gaps fallacy, because we can't explain its origins, because we can't explain the mechanism behind it, the originating factor of it. We're just gonna pretend it's God and just leave it at that. I mean, even
Listen to the main-
scientists. Sorry, even scientists aren't going to like give you like a definitive, like concrete answer on why the universe was created. It doesn't need a why.
That's-
You know.
That's not their purpose. That's not their purpose. Their purpose
Exactly.
is to their purpose is to understand how things work,
Yeah,
how like what the relationship.
Exactly, but like when you use science against a Christian apologist and whatnot, they'll be quick to dismiss it. Oh, well, science is a religion too. No, the fuck, it's not. No, it's constantly
Yeah.
changing. Whereas religion has stayed the exact same for centuries.
Religion is by definition tradition, and
Exactly.
science is the pursuit of knowledge. Hey, we're back to survivors versus explorers. Imagine that. All right, here we go.
mainstream narrative, you will quickly mock that without even touching the book, which I would say is intellectually dishonest to say the least. However, for those who are a little bit more open-minded and willing to think for themselves, I would hope that you would be willing to consider the arguments that are made in that book. Now, what you won't find very surprising, probably, is that the intellectual community, the people at Iowa State University, where Guillermo Gonzalez was a professor on his way to being tenured, well, they didn't like the book very much, and it was highly derided by these people who do not practice viewpoint discrimination at all. And I can prove it to you. Not only from emails that were released from his colleagues, like this one by Dr. Bruce Harmon, that says, would have thought that an intelligent person would have at least kept quiet until after tenure. He will be up for tenure next year, and if he keeps up, it might be a hard sell to the department, but maybe not so difficult for his lawyers, who will certainly be retained by the Discovery Institute. The Discovery Institute, of course, is a group of intelligent design scientists, and you should also take note of the fact that right there in that one email you heard a professor critique freedom of association and freedom of speech. Now, you should also know that there was a statement released in 2005, just a year after the book was published, from Iowa State University Science Department, in which the professors were asked to sign off on a declaration that they do not posit anything close to intelligent design. Now, of course, those who came up with this statement said this has nothing to do with Guillermo Gonzalez's book on intelligent design. We just feel like we should come out right now, shortly after it was published, and make the statement. And then you should also know, shortly after the book was published, Guillermo Gonzalez was denied tenure by Iowa State University. Now, I can go on and give you story after story after story of other Christians who have also been ostracized from their positions of influence and their jobs simply because they're Christians.
This is it. This is it, dude.
Because the thing is, like, there's nothing that reinforces the notion that there is an intelligent designer. It literally all comes down to feelings over because you want it to be true so bad, but there's not any evidence for it. And if everything was intelligently designed, like all life on Earth and throughout the universe, which I'm sure your tiny little brain can't even fathom the scope and size of, who designed the designer? Has the designer always been there? Is the designer omnipotent or omniscient? Like there are too many questions rather than answers, and that's the thing with a Christian apologist. They don't care.
So listen to the little magic trick he pulls here, though.
you story after story after story of other Christians who have also been ostracized from their positions of influence and their jobs simply because they are Christians.
Sure.
Okay, obviously victimhood. They're obviously doing victimhood, but there's also a logical problem here where it's like, no, dude, you're bringing your values to where they don't belong.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're bringing your values to where they don't belong. You're not bringing your values. You're not being
there's
ostracized
there's no
because of your beliefs.
Yeah, there's no science behind the idea that everything was intelligently designed by what you consider the Christian God. Like
But I'm saying the narcissism. I'm saying like
Exactly.
they can't. This is the hypocrisy. Is like it has to be about me and my relationship with Jesus. Everything is about that, and it's not only, and it's miserable. It's like it's so narcissistic,
Right.
And it's and yet a lot of people call it conditional love. It feels like it.
No, for real, and like clearly that kind of like conceptual thinking, which is not based in any science at all, clearly doesn't belong in an institution like that, like to begin with. Like, so you can't get upset when thinkers like that are rejected. It has nothing to do with the fact that they believe that. I mean, it's sure the problem is because they believe it, but science isn't about believing, dude. I mean, who is that woman? Kim Davis, who refused to sign like like verify like a wedding certificate or something like that. She was let go from her government job or whatever. But it wasn't because of her beliefs. It's because her beliefs had no place in that institution.
Right.
But they have to bring it to some like just like you said, some sort of victimhood.
It isn't too hard to posit a world in which the academy is absolutely overrun with progressive ideology and indoctrinating students to one side
Sure.
of the aisle.
Okay. Yeah.
Because students are fucking idiots, kids are idiots,
Yeah.
and they're so easily influenced that if you put them in the room with the wrong teacher, they might go gay on you. It is
Right.
absolutely. They have such
Horrible.
low opinions. They have such
Yeah.
low opinions of children. It's
Yeah.
insulting. It's too
time.
bad the kids can't vote because if they knew what their parents thought of them, I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Big time.
Don't get me started on homeschooling, man.
Oh God, no, exactly. It's like none of these people, like all these people who constantly harp away at colleges being communist indoctrination centers. None of them would survive a fucking semester at any of these, like at any like community college for crying out loud. Like if you had to take like 2 years there and like actually complete your the curriculum, their brains can't freaking handle it. You know, it's like. And it comes back to what we were talking about earlier in the stream. Like the more exposure you have to different people, different modes of thinking, different cultures, different ideas, and whatnot. Like, yeah, you're going to be a whole lot more open-minded, meaning you're going to be a lot less conservative, and you're not going to hold such bigoted views towards people like that you don't understand. Like you get the more exposure you get, you're not going to hold such backwards, regressive, hateful like thoughts. You know.
But this guy's got to be really fun at parties, don't you think?
God,
Don't you think this guy's a really good
best.
time at parties?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he's doing keg stands. He's freaking cracking jokes. This guy is Christian charisma
Oh yeah,
right here.
absolutely. He's scoring all the girls. He's in the back doing lines of coke. He's doing backflips into the pool. Absolutely.
Rudolph, dude. I'd call him Rudolph to his face if I ever saw him in person.
In all, I hope we can take away at least this assessment, that the academy today has no problem with Christians being professors and being even tenured. That is, unless they become vocal about their faith. They are perfectly fine with quiet Christians, but the moment they start to actually speak out in an authoritative manner on their faith, well, then that is too much to handle. That's why today I think it's important for us to have a conversation about Christian nationalism.
well.
Is Christian nationalism just simply an ad hominem attack for vocal Christians, or is there something more to it? Is it the fascist wing of a religious ideology that is trying to overtake America? In order to answer that question, I think it's important to hear a debate from Milo Yiannopoulos and Destiny on the
I
subject.
think the answer's obvious.
How dare you show up
Let's
here
hear it.
offering anything but sympathy? It's outside the scope of our evening this evening to prove or disprove the truth of Christianity or Christ or whatever. But I'll make a few points. There is no America without
Can we
Christ.
pause it real
And the reason
quick?
for that is that this is an intrinsically and fundamentally
I think it's really funny, like, just the huge turn that this guy has taken over the past several years. He came out as the most flamboyant, gay, conservative daddy that was just loved because he was sticking it to the lefties. He was sticking it to all the crybaby social justice warriors. And then he defended pedophilia within the church, and his career went fucking bye-bye. And now he's trying to like flip a 180 and go all religious and denounce his homosexuality. And it's become this entirely new grift because he wants the attention. He wants to continue his career, and it's pretty pathetic. So I'm interested to see what kind of bullshit he's going to fling our way.
a few points. There is no America without Christ. And the reason for that is that this is an intrinsically and fundamentally Christian nationalist country, by which we mean it's built into the architecture of the nation. There's no getting away from it. You can lie about it. You can pridefully claim that, we can be good people without Christ. You can't. You're just inheriting a system of good and evil from the culture in which you grew up, which accords with the natural law. America was founded, as Adams told us, with a constitution that is wholly unsuited to the governance of anyone but a moral and religious people. Do you think that America is comprised of a moral and religious people today? Obviously it is not. And what he meant specifically was Christianity, because the way that America is set up outsources morality to Christianity. And without it, it doesn't work. Because jury trials don't work when people vote with race instead of conscience. Everything in America presupposes the legal system, the social system, the government. Everything in America presupposes the existence of the Judeo-Christian God. Without that, it all comes tumbling down. And without that, it is coming tumbling down. And without that, we're not able to give people who have terrible sicknesses and weaknesses and defects the help that they need. Instead, we hand them victimhood scripts and they shoot up schools, they shoot up churches, whether they are young white guys on antidepressants or whether they're transgender people who are told that it's white Christians are responsible for all of their miseries. It is Christianity that keeps us nice to each other, that keeps us being good to one another. And if you toss it out,
so
this is in line. This is in line. Have you ever heard a conservative say, well, if we don't use the Bible to establish a foundational set of cultural values, what are we going to use? It's like, well, there's plenty of other philosophy out there, and you can actually extrapolate the lessons and put them in secular terms. But they have to keep it in Christian language so that it's about them.
Exactly. He says, oh, it's speaking of lies, it's an outright fucking lie that America was founded on Judeo-Christian values. So America was founded on secularism. They thought that our founding fathers thought that if we became like a theocratic state, then that only adhered to one sect of beliefs. Excuse me, one religion. Like there would be I forget exactly. Of course there would be fucking no growth, but God,
so one thing that I
up
talked
the
about,
wall.
one of the things I talked about in most recent video was just the contextual argument for why America was not founded on Judeo-Christian values. And it's just obvious that there were these history, 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, dominated by European wars. Europe was at war for all of it. It was all but 50 years in those 250 years. Why? And it was all religious wars. They were all religious wars. So why would the founders bring that baggage across an ocean? And they don't think like that though. They're like, they don't think of they think of the founders as angels or saints. They deify them so that they can be closer with the deities. They're closer to God. God's their buddy and not yours, and definitely not mine.
It's pieces of shit like this that want to take us back to the Dark Ages, just another fucking regressor. If you seriously, if your psychopathic ass seriously needs an ancient text written by man to know whether or not murder is wrong, taking another life is wrong, or rape is wrong, I mean, which I'm sure the Bible actually condones, then like you're not arguing in good faith at all. You just want people to adhere to your scripture. You don't actually believe that people are good without what about the countless people in countries all over the world that don't adhere to the Christian theology or the ideology that's found within the Bible, like the morality within the Bible. There are plenty of countries, and they're actually a whole hell of a lot more safer and less crime-ridden than America, which is a very Christian, like mostly Christian country.
Culturally, yeah.
Like yeah, exactly, and they don't have a fucking answer for it. You can go ahead.
As happened in 1776, you have a really big problem on your hands because, and I'm going to say something very radical and difficult to say in Tennessee of all places, there are freedoms afforded to Americans that are too radical and too great and too daring without the insulation of Christianity. The First and Second Amendment.
What, you got something?
The fact that he even dares to even say that like Americans are have too much freedom and whatnot is like it speaks too many privileges. I forget exactly what he said right there, but it just goes to show they're
to say in Tennessee of all places, there are freedoms afforded to Americans that are too radical and too great and too daring without the insulation of Christianity. The First and Second Amendments don't work unless everyone's Christian. They don't work, and they're not working.
What the hell are you talking about?
Crazy
What does that even
guns.
mean?
You can't let shameless liars say whatever they want about other people in public without consequence. There's a sort of
I'm gonna
unwritten
go-
rule that sits behind everything.
I'm gonna go forward to his reaction. Okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Let's go ahead and do it. I can't
And it is
stand
that
listening to this.
these are all
anyway.
or prayer her around town like she's common property. America doesn't work when we behave that way because we'll all just end up murdering each other.
Now, throughout right there from Milo, you heard some really fascinating arguments, in my opinion, and I'm not saying that simply because I'm a Christian or because I believe the Bible is true or that Jesus is who he says he is. I'm saying this simply from a logical perspective. In order for a functioning society to truly work, there needs to be a limiting principle on basically everything. Let me give you an example. Freedom is not freedom if there is no limiting principle upon freedom. There needs to be limits to freedom, so you can't be free.
Thank you. I learned this in second fucking grade, dude. Are you serious? Of course, I do not have the freedom to go fucking kill someone, and there's a limitations on freedom. What an idiot.
Yeah.
You go kill whoever you want to just because they make you angry or cut you off in traffic.
And
There is a limit to your freedom.
nothing to do
You
with
take matters into your own hands
Christianity
and you will
either.
find yourself quickly in a jail cell. You shouldn't be able to.
So I'm big on the high school metaphor, okay? I'm big on it. I think it can really, we'll talk more about it, why I think it's so useful. But just the high school metaphor here is that, remember how there would always be that one or two students and maybe more who would ask the stupid questions or and drag or repetitive questions and drag the class down, and the class couldn't get as much done in the time. There'd always be and so the teacher would have to teach to them first until they got it. We couldn't move on. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, that's what these people are. That's what evangelical Christians are. They are the kids in class who can't think outside of their own framing that they grew up with, and it just try as they might. Wait a second, it's not all about Jesus? Yeah, it's not all about Jesus. You know why? Because it's not all about you.
Exactly.
Be able to abuse children just because they're pesky and they walk on your lawn. There should be a limiting principle to our freedoms so that we are not going around and changing our freedom into anarchy. And historically speaking, in our country, whether you like it or not, the limiting principle that has been placed upon things like freedom and other ideas in America has been the Judeo-Christian ethic. Christian morality and values has been the limiting principle to keep us as a society held together. Now, I can't help but see that there is a communist.
So the roots of that really, in terms of really, you want to get into the culture of what he's talking about here, the history of that culture, it's the WASPs versus the Catholics. Okay? Yeah. It was before all there was a huge amount of time in this country where Catholics were not to be trusted. And my people ran the show. And that's actually where that comes from, that good Judeo-Christian work ethic. Nah, bruh. That's the WASP work ethic, bro. Mm-hmm. If you go back and trace the origins of that cultural concept, that is where it comes from. So he's not even right. If you're going to be an arrogant, entitled Christian and think it's all about you, dude, get it right. Know your goddamn history.
Yeah.
Communist / Marxist / postmodern kind of ideology causing us to totally throw those past Christian moral virtues to the side and trying to posit something else in their place, and they are not working. And this is where John Adams' quote comes in, and Milo kind of referenced it, that our Constitution was made for a moral and religious people, and it is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. In order for America to work, it presupposes Christian values. Now, you may disagree with that. You may hate Christian values, but you're going to have to posit something else in its place, and that's where we truly have America at its finest, when it's working like it's supposed to.
Wait, hold on. Let me just. Can you Google? While we keep watching, can you Google John Adams Christian quote? Because there's a question where he says there's something like it is in no way a Christian nation.
Fine. If you don't think Christian morality and values should be the limiting principle upon a society, well then do your best. Step to the plate and posit what limiting principle should be instituted. And if you can't come up with anything better, then maybe you should just go back to the dugout and be quiet. So ultimately, it's a question of...
So he says, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Let's see.
Yeah, but he also said it has nothing to do with it. It's okay. But did you just hear what he just said? He's so arrogant. You should go. He's like, if you can't come up with a better set of values than my Christian values, then shut the hell up. That's what he just said.
Be the limiting principle upon a society, well then do your best. Step to the plate and posit what limiting principle should be instituted. And if you can't come up with anything better, then maybe you should just go back to the dugout and be quiet.
So don't even take a swing.
What is a limiting principle?
So just be a quitter. If you're not, because winners are Christians. You see that? Beautiful, beautiful. Winners take the swings and hit home runs. You're the man, Reed. Yeah, you're a freaking real badass, dude, with your stupid metaphors, bro. Stay in fucking Florida where you belong.
Principle in society. What can we truly posit as a means by which we do not harm others? I mean, it used to be the Hippocratic Oath for people in the medical community, and I'm not so...
By the way, I want to make sure it's the swamp, the Florida, the white trash Florida, interior, North Florida. It's like, very specific type of Florida. I love lots of Florida.
Mm-hmm. I think you muted it.
To transgender surgeries. Suffice to say, medically, what can we truly posit as a means by which we do not harm others? I mean, it used to be the Hippocratic Oath for people in the medical community, and I'm not so sure anymore, especially as it pertains to transgender surgeries. Suffice to say, you will have to come up with a...
Yeah, like let's not just go after the teachers' unions and the teachers. Let's go after the doctors, too, while we're at it. What a bunch of fucking bullies.
Yeah, it's like... You ask him, he clearly doesn't know jack shit about what it means to transition or what it means to be young and be transgender, or the fact like the overwhelming majority, like 90-something% of young people who transition are happier that way, and the overwhelming consensus, like he gives a fuck about medical consensus or scientific consensus.
But don't you see what he's doing? But
it indicates that like youth transitioning, like even hormone replacement therapy, greatly contributes to a reduction in suicidal ideation.
So no, I'm going to play it again, this part, but this drives me nuts. So listen to the subtext. Like, yes, everything you said is true, but what really drives me crazy and what I think you can really draw attention to, this is like judging, MLK said, judged by the content of their character, right? Well, let's look at the content of his character based on what he just says.
Yeah.
Just go back to the dugout and be quiet. So ultimately, it's a question of what is a limiting principle in society? What can we truly posit as a means by which we do not harm others? I mean, it used to be the Hippocratic Oath for people in the medical community, and I'm not so sure anymore, especially as it pertains to transgender surgeries. Suffice.
Oh, you're not so sure anymore about one of the most, if not the most, important part of a modern society because a handful of doctors are performing transgender surgeries. You're willing to consider writing off the smartest people in our fucking society because they're not in line with what you think someone should do or do not do with their body. What a fucking judgmental. See, this is it, bro. This is the thing, and I'm going to keep saying, I'm going to be really repetitive about this one and tell me if you get sick of hearing it, but the biggest sin, the worst sin a real Christian can commit is wanting to be God. And this motherfucker is committing every moment of condescension out of his breath,
Mm-hmm.
every time he invokes that stupid little tone, that
Yeah.
like, well, I don't know anymore. It's like, dude, you're
Yeah.
not smart. You're
He-
not smart, and everybody knows it.
Yeah, he's not like he's not like unique either when it comes to these kinds of Christians. They will literally use Jesus and the Bible and their Christian faith and belief to justify their bigotry, and to justify atrocities and their own ignorance. And there there's no depths that they would not plumb to like show like just the darkness of the depravity within them.
So Thunderbird, I want to give him some love. This guy's great. He said, James Madison, quote, "The purpose of separation of church and state is to keep forever from these shores the ceaseless strife that has soaked the soil of Europe with blood for centuries." Just like I was talking about,
Yeah,
those
James
hundreds of
Madison.
years of war leading up to the founding of the country. They were
right.
all well educated. All the framers, like over half of them were college educated, and the really sophisticated thinkers like Franklin and Adams and Jefferson, they all had like philosophy under
Yeah.
their belt. Like they knew history. And John, oh, wait, here he comes again. John Adams to Thomas Jefferson, April 19th, 1817. This would be the best of all possible worlds if there were no religion in it. Amen to that. And you know what religion isn't? Spirituality. Nothing wrong with spirituality. Everything wrong with religion.
Yeah, and like
All
like,
right, let's-
like like
go
even
ahead.
John Adams himself was like a Christian man, but thinkers like Franklin and James Madison and Thomas Paine especially, like probably my favorite founding fathers, understood the importance of separating church from state. And like if we're going to be originalists, if we're going to be um, uh, if we're going to harp away on the claim that like Judeo-Christian values are what founded this country, how do you account for those particular founding fathers and what they have said? And of course, they just ignore it. They just cherry pick what they like, just like the Bible, and they run with it.
And so I think getting back to the WASP foundation of this, just so people understand, at least from my experience and my education, okay, which, an Episcopal priest was the head of my private high school growing up. And that old Protestant work ethic, the WASP work ethic that I was talking about, right? It's kind of like life. You've got work and then your family and all the other shit, and then you get to sleep,
Yeah.
right? So if you're a hardcore Protestant, that'll take care of all the other personal shit in your life. That'll tell you how to manage relationships, how to manage these big questions and so forth, so you can get back to focusing on work. So they say like good Christian citizens, it really just means good hardworking citizens. And they just they keep it private. They show up at church, they give money to the church, and it's all good, but they mind their own goddamn business, and they don't try to put their values into the government itself.
Exactly.
Suffice to say, you will have to come up with a limiting principle. Let's see if Destiny has the goods to do it himself in this next clip.
Today, we've got viewers gathered from all across the world tuning in to a debate between me and Milo, where Milo is going to argue that we should turn the USA into an isolated, authoritarian, zealously religious country. I think that technology is a Pandora's box that has changed this country and this world forever, and I don't think we're ever going back to the days of public squares and mail service by horse. Cultural exchange is happening, whether you like it or not, quite literally at the speed of light. Even right now, potentially hundreds of thousands or even millions of people around the world are listening to me and Milo have this debate. The only way to stop this type of cultural exchange is through the militant authoritarianism that Milo was talking about on this stage. That might be through his being against the First Amendment, that might be against his taking away the Second Amendment, and that might be through the institution of a state religion. This means the destruction of our freedom of speech, our ability to produce media, satire, and comedy, and our ability to communicate openly on the social media platforms we've all unfortunately grown addicted to. After Milo gets his way and abolishes the First Amendment, is he going to be the one deciding who we can or cannot make fun of on Twitter? Is the world really going to return to how it was before birth control, before women had the right to work, before gay people were allowed to get married, before we were allowed the ability to freely worship whatever God we wanted, or abstain from worship altogether?
Progressives are always right eventually, just like Starks, man. Women's vote, minority vote, gay rights, all of the social issues, progressives were there first.
Yep.
I reckon that we cannot close Pandora's box. Christian nationalism, as it stands today, isn't even a coherent ideology. Its proponents will argue whether there's an ethnic component, whether one needs to be Catholic or not, and whether one needs to even be a Christian or a supporter at all in order to idolize somebody for a Christian nationalist ideology. How many more porn stars does Donald Trump need to work his way through behind his wife's back before Christian nationalists stop worshiping him as their savior? As small as Christian nationalism is as a movement, even with it being as small as it is, there is still endless infighting. Anyone who's taken a gander recently at Milo, Ali Alexander, or Fuentes' Telegram account can attest to that. And now, with an already fractured and fighting minority movement, some want to put even more restrictions, such as race, lineage, sexuality, LGBT status, or geography, on who ought to be allowed to join their movement. The glory days of Christianity are largely over. While the number of worshippers have ebbed and flowed through time, it's impossible for us to return to where we came from. In 1999, almost 70% of Americans were part of a church, synagogue, or mosque. And just 20 years later, in 2020, according to Pew Research, that number has fallen to just 47%, a minority of the population for the first time in U.S. history. We need to be realistic about the coming years. We need to help our young men and women find purpose in the world, stop pretending like some Christian nationalism is the answer. We need to find ways to get our young people engaged with their friends, family, and their communities in ways that synergize with the technological explosion the entire world has experienced.
Okay,
Yeah.
now good message. Now he's getting into like the culture war, and he's kind of fighting back on the culture war. It's like, yeah, you think your way is the best way? Well, let me give you some specific ways that it could actually be better. And I like where he's going.
Yeah.
Problem is political marketing. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
is the dude with the blue hair gonna be pulling off this argument to like the normies?
Right. I mean, like I have my issues with Destiny. I think he says a lot of dumb shit sometimes, but like his messaging isn't necessarily incorrect here. And he does kind of flirt a little bit with the hard right wing online, terminally online types sometimes. But like overall, like he's completely correct. Like he's basically saying like exactly what I would be saying in this scenario. Like it really is just like the fact of the matter that people like Milo and the people that still continue to prop his ass up are the regressors and don't give a fuck about freedom. They don't want to conserve anything. They want to regress. They want to go back to uh, uh, when America was less fucking progressive, when there were fucking less rights for its citizens, and it's really not hard to see like at all if you pay close enough attention.
If Christian nationalists want to continue to practice Christianity in America, then I say we let them. However,
Yes.
we should never allow them to take away our right not to do the same.
Exactly.
If the movement
And let's tax the fuck out of the churches.
Yes.
that no, not all of them, just the aristocratic churches, just the churches that have like, I don't know what the number is, but those, who's that guy, Joel Osteen?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
Joel.
yeah.
Joel, I
Milk
hope you
him for
see,
millions.
Joel, I hope your people see this someday by digging through my old stuff, because I made something of myself on this platform and I become a concern to you. And I want you to know that I know who you are. You think you know who I am, but trust me, you don't. And just like our relationship, your relationship with America is such that you think you know who she is, and you don't. But I do. So shut the fuck up and listen. The master of the shit-eating grin in Christianity. Oh my God. Yeah, it's too. I can't wait for indie thinker here to do some content on Joel Osteen. Oh my God, I'm foaming at the mouth. All right,
Yeah.
let's hear. Did you have anything, or did you want me to go back to it?
No, let's go for it.
such as it is, I didn't realize there was one, but if Christian nationalism is not yet adequate, allow them to take away our right not to do the same. If the movement, such as it is, I didn't realize there was one, but if Christian nationalism is not yet adequately defined, it's because nobody used it before 2 years ago, which it seems to me to be perfectly reasonable. Trump is not a religious leader in any sense, and you're making a classic mistake of people who don't understand religion, don't understand God, and don't understand their own country when you say hold Trump up as a kind of moral example.
Don't understand God. There it is. Who's tight with God, dude? You or me?
Yeah.
Or this guy?
That's
This guy, right? I'm close with God. I'm special. I'm fucking special.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. It's like people like this, people who are white, straight, cis Christian conservatives. They don't want to hear it from the blue-haired freaks or the minorities or the gays. But when it's white Anglo-Saxon Protestants that are delivering the
Yep.
same message that they are, then they start paying attention. Like, and that's what's honestly, since I even like came across your stuff, that's like what's really um I guess caused a spark, like something clicked. It's like, okay, they think you're one of them, or they could be made to think you're one of them, but you're not. And I think that could be like very valuable, especially when engaging with people like this in the future. Also, I just want to point out, for someone who's really trying to who's put on the facade of being an ex-gay, Milo's looking fucking fabulous right now. Like, what the fuck? Like. All right, let's go for it.
Render unto Caesar. We don't expect that our presidents should be like Jesus because they're not here to do Jesus' job. So no. It's interesting to talk about women's rights. I mean, Christianity is the... Sorry, I mean, I just don't know how hard to go in, really. I mean, you're talking about the religion that gave women consent in marriage. You're talking about the religion that gave women the right to say no, that elevated them from chattel into human beings. You want to return women to chattel. You want women to be like your wife, passed around town.
The biggest symptoms, the most frequent symptoms of narcissism are denial and projection.
For real. Like, are you kidding, dude? Like, women are like wives are entirely the property of their husbands according to the Bible, dude.
Well, that's the thing, is you can find, the Bible's a big document, so you can
Of
find
course.
whatever you need to, really, to make any kind of argument.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm not going to take moral lectures on the rights of women from somebody who treats supposedly their wife in what ought to be a holy sacrament as a communal sex toy.
This is ridiculous.
What the fuck
If
are you
someone,
talking about?
yeah, he's talking about how Destiny has like an open relationship in his marriage or something.
Yeah.
I
like,
think that's
wow.
I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking about.
Is Milo
If
trying
he-
to
if
say
s-
that there's not polygamy in the Bible or people with multiple wives in the Bible? Like,
Okay, so
God,
this is a good like moment to see, like, what do you think? Like, you obviously have the Will Smith example of you could handle it that way. But I mean, if someone ever talked about my wife in a debate like that, I mean, I'd be like, okay, we'll finish this debate, and then we're gonna have a private conversation after this.
Yeah.
Because
No,
that
for
shit
real.
is unacceptable. That's absolutely ridiculous to go after some guy's wife. I don't care
Yeah.
how weird looking he is.
Sad.
Give me a break. Give me a break. I'm not going to take moral lectures from somebody who, for all intents and purposes, may as well have a fleshlight instead of a wife, who demeans and
He has
besmirches
no
her honor.
point. He has no argument.
He's such the moral superiority, and there you go. That's what
Right.
abortion is too. Moral superiority. Once again, narcissism. Narcissism
that's all they
loaded
have.
with superiority.
They don't have actual arguments.
Who
They don't
speaks
have
about a woman
substance.
who should be treated with the reverence and respect and love that we treat our own mothers with, like she was something you could buy, like she's something that just to get off with, passed around to other men while you watch, flicking yourself off. So forgive me if I decline to take any lectures from you on women's bloody rights. As for gay rights, no thanks.
I mean, good for Destiny for not saying anything and interrupting and like losing his shit, because clearly that Milo's a dirty.
Yeah.
That he is a dirty fighter, man.
Right,
And that is
yeah.
like, I mean, that is grounds like, dude, like, of course you're using your. It's like, I mean, if somebody talked to my wife or about my wife like that in a public setting, it's like, really, you're gonna go personal. You're gonna go this hard into the personal, and that's your argument.
Yeah, Destiny knows that Milo is far beneath him, like especially at this point in his career. So, yeah, like I would assume Destiny's just letting just shit bounce right off of him.
Yeah, he's just laughing at it.
Yeah.
No thanks. I didn't want them when I was having sex with men, and I don't want them now. Catholicism and Islam are growing, in case you aren't familiar with the world outside these borders. And the reason for that is that everybody sees what a bloody mess we're all in, thanks to globalization, thanks to information economy, thanks to the kinds of changes that he says are inexorable, because, like a lot of undereducated people, he doesn't have much of a grasp of the world before he was born. I think if you were to glance a little...
Let's take a look at the statistics surrounding education and political dispositions, my man. You want to talk about uneducated people.
further back, whether it were to ancient Greece or Rome or the Holy Roman Empire, you would see plenty of examples in history, or even, dare I say it, the Weimar Republic. A little bit closer to our own era, in which...
Denial and projection.
Yeah.
An era of rampant sexual degeneracy was indeed replaced by some quite stern social rules, to put it mildly.
Yeah, like
History is replete with examples of what happens when the public gets sick of people like you fucking everything up, breaking everything apart, and destroying all the things that make society precious, that make relationships work. In fact, if you are to look back in history as far as Greece and Rome, you might say that history is really the story of how people like you, given undue influence and larger platforms than they deserve, continually express views that are so far outside of the mainstream and so out of step with what ordinary people think that you
Like the women's vote, like the black vote, like the minor, like, I mean, come on, man. I mean, this guy, like, he thinks, and this is the testament to the intellectual weakness of right wingers, is
Yeah.
that he gets away with it with his acting skills.
Yeah,
he's got really good. He's
exactly.
got really. He's a character actor.
No, for real. He thinks himself into multiple corners, and he doesn't actually believe anything he says. He just says it multiple times to himself, so that way he comes off as fitting in with the dogma of right-wing ideology. He's completely fucking disingenuous. Like, he's completely full of shit.
Grifter.
Yeah.
that you have to be regularly slaughtered, and new governments have to be installed, and coups have to be engaged in, just to keep people like you in line, because otherwise we'd all be dead. So I'm sorry, but I'm certainly not going to take any kind of moral lectures from you on anything.
Because I am morally superior to you.
So far, he hasn't
But
made any
I've given you a few
points.
examples of why everything you just said is complete and absolute nonsense. But let me tell you, if your memory stretches back, and as a university, you're an educated person, it should be further than 1980. Yeah, you absolutely can put it back in the box, and we must, and we should, because otherwise America is done.
I'm fascinated by this kind of Pandora's box argument that we, because of our Christian virtues, somehow want to thrust the world back into the 1950s, and technology has exposed Christianity and shown how frivolous it is, and now we no longer need it anymore because something akin to because we have like Facebook. Like, if anything, social media has proved how much we need Christianity. Only
How? Like, why? What? Like, for what? For
Dude.
what purpose, dude? Like, why?
Because social media has facilitated the relationship between Donald Trump and the right-wing religious group.
like,
Or
what-
sorry,
oh.
the religious right in America.
Because
How can you
the
possibly say?
the advent of the internet and social media has made it to where like there's a public debate about the scope of Christianity and its incompatibility with advancing as a species, or the fact that like you literally can't even like prove that there is an existence of any deity of any religion. Was it because of the internet? Now is because of the advent of the internet, atheism has become a whole lot more prominent, which is where I come from, and they're poking holes in all your in all the arguments that Christian apologists cling to, like out of desperation. Is that the actual problem? Because I don't think it has nothing. I don't think it has anything to do with like, social media at all. Like. Social media isn't why Christianity is falling apart. It's because of Christianity. It's because you guys don't have the arguments. It's because you have nothing to actually back up your beliefs. Because it's not based in reality. And every debate that you engage in it with non-believers or atheists or whatever, you come out looking worse than they do. Now, obviously, debate is an art, so like it doesn't really always come down to what's factual or not. It's just your arguments are not there, and you can't stand that. So so that's why there's fucking Christian apologists like this guy.
I love how he just said, I mean, there's a lot of things going on with social media. One of the things I
Of
think that's
course.
obvious is that the ugliness was always there. It's just the social media has made it more visible.
Exactly. That's
and it's just like
it.
we're coming to terms with how ugly people are, and
Right.
it sucks. And it's like, oh, it's like, I don't want to think about that. I mean, so these are the types of
Oh,
people that like
man,
can't
dude.
get down, that can't. This guy, if this guy watched Eddie Murphy Raw, for example, which is one of the most legendary stand-up acts ever, if you
I've
haven't
seen
seen
it.
it already.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, so this guy would walk out of the theater if he saw
God.
that. I
Right.
mean, this is the stick up his ass type of Christian. He
Yeah.
sucks, and he's saying, "Yeah, okay, fine. Social media has made it more visible, has made the ugliness more visible. Maybe he would probably agree with that." But then he would be
Sure.
like, "Well, the answer's." Then he says, "The answer is obviously Christianity. The answer is
Yeah.
obviously the answer is obviously what I'm already doing. The answer is obviously about me.
Yeah.
It's fucking childish."
More regression, more control over other people's behaviors and thoughts.
But I'm
and
telling you,
feelings.
man, I'm telling you, go to the child thing when you talk to other people about this shit. I don't think people see conservatives as intellectual children, and if they did, they would be more worried about the future, because if Trump wins this year, man, God only knows what's going to happen to this country.
They're literally just children.
OnlyFans is not helping us like move into the 21st century with pride and with
I bet his wife is on OnlyFans.
values and with morality. Technology in no way, in my mind, disproves Christianity. This seems to be nothing less than kind of an Enlightenment talking point. So you're going to have to ask yourself throughout this conversation, which is more likely? This blue-haired, very smart, and I'll give you that,
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? Of course he says something about Destiny's blue hair. I told you.
Right.
I told you.
very smart guy is absolutely right. Christians are a bunch of Luddites that want to thrust us back into the Middle Ages, or that technology actually necessitates that we have a deeper and more thoughtful conversation of morality, and that destiny is actually full of crap. Now, my biggest problem throughout this debate is that I find Milo, who is a provocateur to be sure, actually way more thoughtful throughout all of this debate, actually
What the
providing examples
hell?
and digging
You
in a little
have
bit
to
deeper
be
than superficial kind of
delusional
arguments to
think
explain
that
what he's talking about. And Milo actually cares about history a little bit here, whereas throughout, and I think this is a fair assessment, you can put down in the comment section below if you don't believe so, throughout, I feel like destiny is just merely saying things and then never defining his terms and then expecting these things to magically come out of nothing. So for instance, he constantly uses the word purpose and meaning, but does not ever give an argument for
You're
where purpose and meaning can come from a
You're
secular humanistic standpoint.
insane. What, this is
How
just
about reading
sad.
history, dude? How about reading history to understand what constitutes a fair society? Because we have a few examples, and like, look at the world. The happiest people in the world are Scandinavians, either from Denmark or I'm pretty sure it's Denmark's #1, but the other Scandi countries are all very high up there, and it's because they have nice and low expectations for life, and they're all very well educated people. They're thinkers, man. They think their way through a lot of these big questions. And I'm telling you, just like children, like they start asking those really like basic questions about life, they need those answers and they need the certainty. Frank Schaeffer talks about certainty addiction. This guy's a certainty addict. He's the
No, for
sociopathy
real.
man.
Yeah.
This is how you become a sociopath. Is you believe in something so much that he's like, I'm willing to give my life
Yeah, you're willing
for this message.
to work backwards from your predetermined conclusions on everything. You're like that's where your foundation is, your ideology, your conclusion about life, the universe, and everything, and you're gonna work backwards from that and post hoc justify all your beliefs so that way it can be aligned with that. It's just fucking bullshit. And the fact that he thinks that Milo was in any way coherent to begin with is beyond delusional. Like, he was just spewing garbage against the wall to see what sticks, and was like gish galloping his whole way through. He didn't even have like an actual fucking response. I'm fucking sure this guy knows that. Like, there's no way he doesn't.
And in our next clip, I think I'll show you why he can't argue that. So check it out.
I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to respond to. I think it's a little funny
Right.
that apparently I'm so far outside of what people regularly think, despite the fact that I'm pretty sure I'm giving you a bigger audience than you've had in the past several years post your cancellation. But
Okay, more of that. Like more. Like they
Yeah.
do those little, like they cut with knives. Let's cut with swords. Okay, Michelle Obama. Sorry, I like the spirit of it, but when they go low, I'm kicking them in the teeth.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not like the stakes of the conflict are way too high. I don't care about their feelings anymore. I can't. We can't.
No,
A
for real.
second
It,
we
like,
start to care about their feelings, we're screwed.
they say never kick someone when they're down, but if they're going low anyway, you might as well get them while they're fucking down there, you know? Fuck.
Especially if they're packing heat or carrying a knife, you know, they don't know what they got. And hey man,
I mean,
winning a fight's all about getting that first advantage. If someone goes low on you and you dodge the attack, kick them in the teeth.
I mean, even just fucking like rhetorically too, like sinking to.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
that's what I'm
okay,
saying.
Okay. I just want to make sure. All right.
But I see that this is what the dying throes, I guess, of an internet provocateur, as he self-described himself back when you were writing on the alt-right, then when you were writing on Trump. Now I guess you're not writing on guys anymore because apparently you prayed away the gay. So whatever you're doing now. But I won't get into all that. I'll take the high road, despite the fact that you're one of the most obsessed with my wife's vagina gay guys I've ever seen in my entire life. Very fucking weird, but very strange.
All right, Destiny. I have the personality I have. So stuck with it now.
Now your question, Destiny.
Oh, poor baby.
Oh, my
Oh,
God. That just exposes it all right there. Like, I created this persona for myself. This is my grift. I have to stick to it.
God
sorry.
made me this way. God made me this way, dude.
Sure.
Fuck you.
You have 5 minutes to respond to this, and then I'll have 3 minutes to respond to that. Some would argue that a society without religion at its core would devolve into a nihilistic society, deprived of any meaning or purpose. How would you prevent in your society, non-Christian nationalist governing society, from devolving into a
No such thing as think about the universe is.
Just look at the societies that Christians build, and you tell me where you want to live. Is it Abu Dhabi? Is it the Congo? Is it Sparta? Or is it Western Europe, maybe 50 years ago? I know where I'd rather be.
Einstein said it like this: the most incomprehensible thing about the universe is comprehensibility. So the idea.
Wait, there you go. He just said it. Einstein. Listen to this. Did you hear the quote he just made?
Where I'd rather be.
Einstein said it like this: the most incomprehensible thing about the universe is comprehensibility.
I mean,
the idea that there isn't an answer is completely outside of this person's view of the world. It is incomprehensible to him that something cannot be known. There has to be an answer.
Someone just
and then he, you know what he would say? Hold real quick. What he would say to that is like, well, that's why they call it faith. It's like, yeah, but it's not blind faith. If you read your fucking scripture, you know that it's not supposed to be blind.
No one.
And it's not an answer for everything. It's okay not to know, you douchebag.
Yeah, no, dude, that's exactly what I was gonna say. No one ever in this guy's life bothered sitting down and just put their hands on his shoulders just to tell him it is okay to say I don't know.
Don't know.
God, you know?
So the idea here is that you're going to have to posit some kind of mind in order to posit some kind of purpose, that there has to be a design.
I love it, dude. Like that's why he calls himself the indie thinker, is because that explanation of logic right there. Isn't that great? I mean, the funny thing is, if I ever did talk logical fallacies with him, I'd be like, do you realize that the concept of God in today's world only exists because it constitutes the fallacy of ignorance? It's like all it does is explain the inexplicable. Like that's kind of, anyway.
Design in order for there to be meaning. There is no such thing as meaning to this life if there is not a person who created ultimate meaning. Now we can.
Do people, I mean, like, what about the natural instincts to, like, take care of your kids? Like, do people with kids have automatic moral value?
Seriously, like, if there was no God, is the meaning of life now to worship your parents? The fact that your parents gave birth to you, like, does that automatically mean your life has meaning? No. So why would that apply to the God that you believe in? Like, what? There's only God. I'm gonna.
We can try to find.
I can't. I can't.
Arbitrary meaning in our daily tasks in life, but there's no ultimate meaning that we all share in this life. And without that, I'm not sure that we hold together as a society. One of the things that truly brings a society together, and this brings us back to the whole conversation about Christianity and society. One of the things that holds us together as a society is shared morality. That shared morality is the thing that we can share in common. Belief in the dignity of the individual, the intrinsic value of the individual, even
as long as it's a Christian morality.
Sure.
the brotherhood of mankind. But the problem is that secular humanism doesn't give you any of those things. You know what does? Christianity does.
Are you
Why does
kidding
secular?
me? That's
then,
such a lie.
then have a.
That is
Okay,
a
if that's true,
lie.
so I challenged him to a debate, and he gave me when you get bigger, let me know or whatever, and he ended up blocking me, so it's too bad. But and I don't think he'd ever debate me anyway. But it's like you obviously know nothing about secular humanism if that's how you feel about it.
Yeah, no,
And
for real.
if you're gonna have a real man, okay, because remember these are not grown-ups. This is a little boy we're looking at here. This is not
right.
this is psychologically speaking, this is not a grown-up, okay.
Yeah.
Like a little boy, he's not gonna have a secular humanist on because he's worried he's gonna get smoked on his own
Exactly.
channel.
Exactly.
So we'll see. Well, maybe someday,
Yeah,
Reed.
it's like
So if Chris-
he's only name dropping secular humanism because he sees that as an affront to his beliefs. He sees that as a natural enemy because he can't have his fucking beliefs challenged, which is why he blocked your ass.
Or there is no challenge to be had. Like there is a
If
those
he
bumpers.
probably is that fucking arrogant. Yeah.
There's like, and also too, like you see those bumper stickers that say coexist on them, right? Which is what you're really talking about. There's that cliche that says, "Ain't no kind of hate like Christian love."
Right.
If Christianity has actually been the moral glue that has held our society together and the reason that we're fraying at the edges right now as more and more people flee Christianity, then the real question is Christian nationalism really a problem? Well, let me give you kind of an example. It's often stated that on November 27, 1095, Pope Urban II's speech at the Council of Clarence.
Okay, so too, this is also very entitled behavior, because he's like, is Christian nationalism actually a problem? Now, let's give him a little bit of credit and say that he actually thinks of Christian nationalism as a positive thing. He thinks about it in a cultural way, not like actually making Christianity the official religion of the United States or anything like that. Like just bringing us back to Christian values. But he goes off. Anyway, let's keep watching. Sorry.
Yeah.
Of Claremont started the Crusades. You can see that from the text of the speech, it would be more accurate to say that the Crusades were started by the Muslims many years before, and that Urban's appeal was nothing more than a call for Christians to respond to a world that was tearing the world apart. Urban said this.
Wow.
Some of the
So
Christians
you're
they have carried
telling
away as
me-
slaves. Others they have put to death. The churches they have.
You're telling me that you're literally going to pull the you don't have to rewind it. You're telling me you're
Christianity.
going to pull
I want
So
to
if
hear this. Go ahead.
the,
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're going to tell me that like the Crusades were all about look what you made me do. You've got to be kidding me. That is some just high level cope if I've ever seen anything. Like if I've ever seen any such cope, like wow, because Muslims existed, we just had to kill all of them because they don't believe in the same God as we do. Yeah, the Muslims started the Crusades. That's a whopper, buddy.
I want to make sure I give love to our loyal viewer Thunderbird, who just gave me a message. The Holocaust was a religious war between Christians and Jews. Read God and the Fascists by Karl-Heinz Deschner, 1965. And then he has some quote at the end, Gott mit uns. I don't know what that means. Hopefully it's not some sort of slur. Thank you, Thunderbird, for the message, but I actually don't think that's correct. My understanding is that it was actually white people racism that really was at the engine of the culture war that led within Germany to like think of themselves as better and superior to other races. They invaded the Polish because they thought of themselves as superior to them.
Right.
So, they might have invoked, he says, God with us. Yeah, they might have invoked God in their language or whatever, but
Yeah.
it wasn't, they didn't, if they were all about, Christianity, if World War II was
Yeah.
Crusades 3.
It was all
like,
secondary.
it would have been like all over the propaganda and stuff. No.
Yeah.
No, absolutely
no,
not.
they just utilized it because it was convenient for them. It gave them justification for it. Like and that's what a lot of fucking like Christians well, and fascists in general do today. They call this and that degenerate or abominations, and then just hide behind like some vague Christian notion about it in order to justify their fucking ignorant and irrational and bigoted beliefs, like I said earlier. And the same went for the Nazis.
Belief in the dignity of the individual, the intrinsic value of the individual, even the brotherhood of man.
The dignity of the individual and intrinsic value of the individual, because you're not going to find those values in secular humanism. Give me a break.
Right.
Mankind. But the problem is that secular humanism doesn't give you any of those things. You know what does? Christianity does.
Right on cue. I haven't watched this. I haven't watched this.
So if Christianity has actually been the moral glue that has held our society together and the reason that we're fraying at the edges right now as more and more people flee Christianity, then the real question is Christian nationalism really a problem? Let me give you kind of an example. It's often stated that on November 27th, 1095, Pope Urban II.
Sorry, I actually did rewind. I cheated.
Speech at the Council of Claremont started the Crusades. You can see that from the text of the speech, it would be more accurate to say that the Crusades were started by the Muslims many years before, and that Urban's appeal was nothing more than a call for Christians to respond to a world that was tearing the world apart. Urban said this: some of the Christians they have carried away as slaves, others they have put to death. The churches they have either destroyed or turned into mosques. They have desecrated and overthrown the altars. They circumcise Christians and pour their blood from that circumcision on the altars and baptismal fonts. Some they kill in a horrible way by cutting open their abdomen, taking out a part of their entrails, tying it to a stake, and then beat them and compel them to walk until all their entrails are drawn out and fall onto the ground.
That is what is known from here on out as Christian theatricality. They use violence like that to invoke the seriousness of their message and how they are entitled to intellectual respect because their knowledge is so important. Look at the historical context from which it comes. A violent past. And this might happen today if you don't get down with Christianity.
Dude, it's so gross because we're literally 30 like we only got a couple minutes left. We're 30 minutes in, and he hasn't made like an actual like single point that reinforces like his ideology and why it is justified, why it is worth following, why he is worth listening to, and his words are worth accepting. It's like right here, you nailed it. It comes down to invoking and instilling fear of violence. And of course, it's vague. He's just pointing to like a scripture historical tidbit, but it doesn't matter. His ideas.
Now, there's Urban talking.
No, yeah, his ideas are sacrosanct and should be like catered to in a way because of this. Like, it's gross. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm down for blacklisting. I mean, I think we should have enemies of the Southern Poverty Law Center has a hate group thing. Like, let's do that, just like a tier down, like public figures who are just not to be respected. God. And Ben Shapiro's number one.
Talking about what Muslims are doing to Christians at the time. And I know what you're thinking. That peaceful religion doesn't sound so peaceful, and you should know this.
No shit.
It isn't. Much like the call of Urban long ago, today Christians are facing a battle that is similar in at least similar, not in violence, but similar in need of a response. The battle we face today is not physical, but rather ideological. Much like in that day, Christians were hesitant to fight. They had to be convinced by Urban to do so. But the woke neo-Marxists of today have overplayed their hand. In the past, they'd been mostly unopposed, and they thought that they could get away with murder, literally, and it finally caught up to the attention of Christians. Marxists shoved their DEI down the throat of everyone, trying to racialize everything, even airline travel.
I have never seen a black woman fly a plane.
It wasn't enough for them to destroy the definition of marriage. They wanted to parade naked down the street every June for the kids to enjoy. They wanted fat men in dresses twerking in public libraries for the kiddos, and they wanted to march children into dinner clinics.
Anecdote Andy right here. Oh, just goddamn, dude. Wow. Who cares?
Freaks, geeks.
Like
freaks, geeks, and weirdos, man. They care because they're losers. They don't have anything going on in their lives that makes them happy.
Because they've lost. You know what Christians have been losing. You know what the war that they've been losing in the past several years. The war in the marketplace of ideas. Because none of their shit's holding up anymore. Because they've been outsmarted by smarter people that they've come across on the internet, and they cannot handle it. That's why this guy's an apologist. God.
Well, I think honestly, Christianity would have a more of a chance with people if they would get over sex before marriage.
Yeah.
Or no sex
Or-
before marriage.
or-
If they would just get rid of no sex before marriage, and obviously abortion, then they would be fine. They would be well, not fine, but they would have a chance, I should say.
Or stop trying to apply your religious beliefs in a legislative sense, or like try to pass.
No, that's
policies
you
based-
talking. No. Go to normie behavior. Normie behavior, high school experience. That's when you're going to have a
Sure.
chance at getting someone.
Sure.
That's when you're going to have a chance at getting someone to become a Christian. Is like late high school, early college, and the only chance you're going to have, I'm telling all you Christians out there that want to create other Christians and go forth and multiply, is you're going to have to get rid of no sex before marriage, and you're going to have to get over abortion if they're an educated urban or
Right.
suburban person. Because unless they're
Yeah.
white trash Bible beaters, you're not going to have a chance.
It
with them.
is gross. Like I still all over the town that I work at. Like I still see pro-life across America billboards all the fucking time. Like there's multiple of them. It's like, God, no one wants to see that shit, dude. Yeah.
And they won't, and they're down to have the child be born, but then as soon as it is, they don't want to put up the social services necessary for
course
that
not.
child to have any chance in a cutthroat capitalist economy.
Yeah,
All right, let's see how he's gonna bring it home. I'm telling you, Reed is a smart guy. He's a talented guy. Rudolph Reed, baby.
and castrate them, all while public intellectuals like Neil deGrasse Tyson try to convince us that this is logical.
Why are we doing this?
Because people are mostly boys and girls?
But why split them entering a school building?
Because they pee differently? Jesus Christ, I have to explain this?
No.
Christians who are mostly kind and generally weak people were fine.
You know how psyched he was to have a Bill Maher clip that he could use? He's like, hey, look, this guy's pretty mainstream. This guy's saying stuff like I'm saying. I should be bigger.
Yeah,
I
only
should
the
grow.
most smug, anti-intellectual fucking out there right now.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, I mean, I think we got to let go of any expectation that either of us will ever be on Bill Maher.
Oh, of course.
And
of course.
shame on, but shame on Comedy Central, and it was obviously because, anyway, Bill Maher should have been replaced a while ago.
Yeah.
It's not. It's beneath the HBO brand. There are a lot of good people out there that he could have been replaced with. Anyway, let's get back to Reed real quick.
Yeah,
We're fine sitting back, going to church and praying in their closets. But when gross injustice is taking place, kind and generally weak people, we're fine sitting back, going to church and praying in their closets. But when gross injustice is taking place in our country, by that same scripture that calls us to pray in our closet, it also calls us to speak out and to change the world for the better. So if that's what Christian nationalism is, then label me that. But you were probably going to do that anyway, regardless of what I say, and that's something you'll have to look down.
Oh, victimhood. Oh, you were probably going to do it anyway because you're so mean. Grow up, you fucking pussy.
Right.
Deep in your soul and see if that sounds right to you. I would rather think that it's a better use of your time to consider the value and the virtue of Christian scripture on society. I suspect that will be much more fruitful. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And go.
All right.
Oh, God.
God. I mean,
what an asshole.
I would say that was a waste of time if we didn't get content out of that, which we clearly did. But my God, he just had nothing to say at all, honestly, like that.
Well, he regurgitates a lot of talking points that work,
that's
and
it. Yeah,
they're formulaic. What really bums me out about this, it makes me think of mainstream media, left-wing mainstream media, and well, let's hold on a second. We're gonna give Thunderbird some more love because he's our one of two consistent live streamers here, live stream viewers for us. Hitler needed the Pope's blessing to convince young soldiers to fight, and those who refused to worship Hitler were excommunicated from the church. Read Hitler's Pope by John Cornwell. Fascinating, man. Fascinating. It was just like Nixon and Billy Graham. Nixon wanted the votes. Billy Graham wanted to be famous, okay? The Pope is a human being. The Pope was in Europe. He was probably scared shitless of the German war machine, too. Who knows? I don't care. Doesn't mean Hitler and Nazi Germany were on some kind of religious warfare. It's not what happened.
Right.
It's not what happened.
Yeah.
It was racism. It was white man racism.
Yeah, basically. So I wouldn't mind actually reacting to this guy some more. What I'm going to do once this stream is over, or like when I get the chance to, is figure out how to clip this entire reaction from the beginning to like around now of us reacting to the indie thinker and putting it up as its own
Oh, okay.
video on
So
the channel. Yeah. Which will
yeah.
probably,
So I already I upgraded to StreamYard. So oh no, wait, I haven't been recording this. I think it puts a recording in it. But
I'm pretty sure. Well, because like my live stream will be posted regardless. So if I'm not able to actually like clip that from YouTube itself, I can always download the actual MP4 and then just clip it and then just post it as is. So and we can do that for a lot of stuff in the future. But yeah, that guy is a piece of fucking work, dude.
All right. Speaking of the Pope, hey, I got one. I got some. You want to do the Pope real quick? One on the Pope. Reed does one on the Pope. We still have Thunderbird here, so let's give it a try here. Hold on.
Sure.
Oh shit. I had to stage. Yeah, there he is.
Okay.
Reed looking good in his holiday sweater. Look at that holiday sweater.
Like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to have an amazing Christmas. This is our last episode before the new year, so I thoroughly hope you enjoy it and your family's celebration of our Lord and Savior. Now, if the show has benefited you in any way, I want to highly encourage you to support what we're doing here. It's too late for you to go to our donation to a brand new show this past year called Podcast to the Church Station with a panel of other assertive conversations about this subject we've produced on the show in the past and to help any thinker continue. The Pope just recently stated that the Catholic Church would now bless homosexual unions. CBS News reports this, that Pope Francis has formally approved allowing priests to bless same-sex couples with a new document released Monday, explaining a radical change in Vatican policy by insisting that people seeking God's love and mercy shouldn't be subject to an exhaustive moral analysis to receive it. One should not prevent or prohibit the Church's closeness to people in every situation in which they might seek God's help through a simple blessing. The document from the Vatican's Doctrine Office says. But the shift in policy doesn't change the Church's position on marriage. Now, I just want to go through that very briefly with you because there's a couple of things that I think deserve to be recognized here. And so the first one is this, is that an exhaustive moral analysis is not necessary to receive blessing. Well, the whole point of blessing is to help affirm on earth what God is affirming in heaven. So there is actually an exhaustive moral analysis that is necessary for some things because you don't want to go around blessing things that God doesn't bless, or do you? Now, the other thing that I think is interesting about the Pope's comments is that he says that people who are pursuing closeness to God need not to be hindered by the church. Well, the last I checked, the church also was supposed to be, at least the Pope was supposed to be the vicar of Christ and was supposed to be a mouthpiece for Christ and to try to help people understand what closeness to Christ actually looks like. And along with that is behavior. I think we can all agree that if you say that you believe in Jesus, act like you believe in the devil, talk like you believe in the devil, and basically everybody else around you thinks you're the devil, then you're probably not a Christian. And so the whole idea is that Christianity is something and not other things, unless we live in a pluralistic society that is totally mentally and spiritually bankrupt and doesn't understand the difference between two things, which I think is one of the issues here that I believe is very important. So let me just summarize real carefully so that we understand. What's interesting about the Pope's statement.
What exactly is the issue then? Like, because didn't Jesus
he's building up. He's like, no, he's getting there. He's getting there. He's getting to it.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Statement is not that he is calling the Catholic Church to consummate marriages officially. So he's not saying that the Catholic Church can officiate gay unions. But what he is saying is that you can bless gay couples. Yeah. So it seems an odd distinction. But with that distinction, boom, presto. Just like magic, the leftists and progressive Christians all over social media all of a sudden have a soft place in their heart for the hierarchical, patriarchal, abusive institution of the Catholic Church. That before the Pope said this was simply just an...
No.
What did I tell you?
You're giving...
What did I tell you? What?
You're giving leftists and progressives way too much credit. No. You know what the actual reaction was, dude? Oh, wow, the Pope did that? Wow, it's actually kind of cool. It's nice to see that the Church is actually somewhat, like, leveling, because it comes down to the Pope. The Catholic Church is freaking huge. That's of course he has to broaden it and overgeneralize it, so yeah.
Well, did you see him? Did you hear him condemn the Catholic Church? I mean, this is some old school
just the dishonesty,
here.
Go ahead.
Leftists and progressive Christians all over social media all of a sudden have a soft place in their heart for the hierarchical, patriarchal, abusive institution of the Catholic Church. That before the Pope said this was simply just an institution that abused people and especially small altar boys. But now, all of a sudden, there's a strange new respect that comes to them.
No.
So there's just a couple of things that I think is important about pointing out.
What? No, two things can be true at once, dude. Like it could be like an oppressive hierarchical, like patriarchal structure that has had like a history of abuse of altar boys and young kids throughout the centuries and even up like still to this day that's still happening. That can still be true at the exact same time as the Pope saying, "Hey, like it's okay to bless homosexual couples," because it is like you just said, an exhaustive moral analysis. Because who cares? Who cares? Like like Jesus Christ hung out with the sinners and the whores and all that. If the goal is to be more Christ-like, I don't exactly see what the issue is here with the Pope coming out and doing that. And to apply that to the entire church, like you're given a little bit too much wiggle room there.
Does public education have religion classes, like in high school?
I don't think like specifically.
I don't think so.
Like
no, like I want like
I don't think so.
Yeah, I want like a junior year AP class in religion where you do all 5 major religions and you can take an AP class and get course credit for it. I think a 3-year college based on AP test scores in high school. I mean, I had a semester and a half done of college before I set foot on campus. I could have easily done it in 3 years. Like more of that, man. Like, and you know,
Yeah.
a lot of this crap wouldn't work in the public square if people knew about Jesus, the historical figure, you know,
Yeah.
and not so much the religion that was founded 60 years after he died or whatever it was.
Yeah. Schools, because I remember back when I was in school, there'd be a couple grades where, for maybe like the ancient civilization class or the history class, the major religions, you know, would be briefly touched on, and this is what Catholics believe, and this is their Bible, or this is what Muslims believe. This the Church of Islam. And they read the Quran, this that, just like the basic fundamentals of it. But when it comes to like the actual like digging into like scripture and like the actual fundamental beliefs of it, it doesn't go that deep at all. And I think it should for all the major religions. I think that'd be very very useful, honestly. And like I think middle school would be a good place to do like an actual class, or at least like part of the curriculum, a substantial part of the school year for that grade should be dedicated to learning about the major religions for sure.
And what about like movies that were made about like from Shakespeare plays or something, right? Like what about like would you rather, because we used to do a Shakespeare play a year, and what about instead? What about instead of that? What about like if you only really do the text, if you're gonna perform it for like a play that your school's putting on, but otherwise you have the option of like watching 2 or 3, Shakespearean movies. Like, like let's get creative, man. I mean, whatever gets them interested. Like that's what I'm saying is whatever gets them interested. If I had seen Hamlet performed as opposed to read, or if I had seen it performed and then read it, I mean, I would have really gotten into like the nuances and the genius, right? Like of those texts.
I remember my freshman year, we just for fun because we were learning about like I think it was like. Must have been Abraham, just like the Abrahamic religions and whatnot. And just for fun, we watched Prince of Egypt, the DreamWorks movie. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, let's hear what he has to say.
Pointing out here. First and foremost is this will never be enough. Just blessing same-sex couples but not consummating those marriages or officiating those marriages will never be enough for the LGBTQ community. And why? Well, simply because
Slippery slope is big in their logical fallacy quiver.
Because they have a valid argument. And the argument is, what's the difference between blessing our marriage and actually officiating our marriage? Now, I'm not a Catholic, so I cannot tell you. But at least, as far as I can tell, the only...
But I can tell you that the Catholic Church is a disgusting institution, even though I'm not Catholic.
The difference is one of semantics. So what is the difference? Well, I don't think there's one, which leads us to the ultimate conclusion here, and this is the ultimate point, that the Pope, we know what he's doing. All he seems to be doing is solemnizing gay marriage, or at least pushing the Catholic Church closer to the point of solemnizing the gay marriage. Here's what he had to say about that.
Solemnizing is a really, really big word.
People seeking a transcendent relationship with God and looking for his love and mercy should not be subject to an exhaustive moral analysis as a precondition for receiving it. Well, yes, you should. And here's why. Because if you don't, you run the risk of actually taking a word and demolishing its definition. The exhaustive moral analysis that goes into marriage, one of the greatest and most important building blocks of any society, is there so that we can appropriately understand what marriage is. Now, especially when it becomes a religious idea, we want to understand clearly what it is so that we can know that God is truly blessing it. Otherwise, all we have is a man blessing it, and what does his blessing have over God's blessing? So yes, we want an exhaustive moral analysis, making sure that we clearly define what marriage is. And when we do, we understand that marriage is something, but not other things. And here is the...
I mean, it's like he just says nothing.
No.
Like you're saying. Like he's
marriage
just full of he's just a bullshit.
Whatever you want.
He's a bullshitter.
Yeah.
He's a bullshitter.
They're
like,
different.
He's just a really...
Like, are there not different kinds of marriages, like, within the Bible? Like, it doesn't have to fit one definition. Like, it's like...
Or how about just the life experience of being around other families, having, like, community and relationships with other couples, seeing what works.
Right.
Like, for example, for all of those people out here, I'm not going to do life advice a lot, but one thing I will say about your partner is you better have, the woman that you settle down with, you better have at least one, preferably more like 2 or 3 common interests.
Yeah.
And there's obviously more to it than that, but definitely have at least one thing that you absolutely love to do together. And then 1 or 2 other things that you either love to do together or talk about.
Like clearly, like not everyone's idea of marriage is going to match the others. You know, everybody's idea of marriage and what constitutes as marriage is going to vary. It's going to differ. But according to this guy, I guess fucking not.
Here is the real point at the end of the day. The slow creep of leftism and I would even say woke ideology, the woke mind virus.
What does leftism have to do with literally fucking any of this, my dude?
Hold on. I'm going to back it up. Hold on.
Yeah.
His blessing have over God's blessing. So yes, we want an exhaustive moral analysis, making sure that we clearly define what marriage is. And when we do, we understand that marriage is something, but not other things. And here is the real point at the end of the day. The slow creep of leftism and I would even say woke ideology, the woke mind virus, into the church is a overt attempt to try to destroy meaning. So as the attack on marriage...
Why? Okay, but why? Why? So they're evil. He's saying they're evil. You're trying to destroy meaning?
What?
That's such a fucking, like, I mean, like, don't let that just go by. Yeah. No, that's saying someone's a really, really bad person. And like...
okay, listen. What if I marry a man and it means a lot to me? What if it means a lot to him? What if that marriage has meaning because we say it does?
You're just immortal, because you're not God.
Who are you to say it doesn't have meaning to me? And what in the actual fuck does leftism or the woke mind virus have to do with whether or not something means something to me? Are you saying like everybody's interpretation of meaning is the exact same thing? Are you saying that like marriage means the exact same thing to everybody? Because it doesn't. Like leftism, like I still don't get it. Like leftism is a political philosophy, like a broad political philosophy that's all encompassing with multiple subsects of thinking. Like he's just verbally spewing garbage. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like what?
So is the attack on Christmas.
Because like people want to marry people of the same gender. Oh, I guess something.
Because they're dirty, bro.
Something.
They're
Karl
dirty to
Marx,
him.
Something. Communism. Like, make it make sense, please. God damn it. Okay.
But people listen to this crap, man. This is like this guy. I think this guy is going to be big. I think he's going to keep churning out, and he's got a good look for this world.
Is he backed by anybody? Like, is he a Daily Wire
I don't know.
or the Blaze?
No, I don't.
Or
not yet. Not
Daily
yet. No, I
Caller
don't think so.
or something? Like, well, God.
I don't know. I'll look into it and find out. Let's get this. Get this over with.
It is a desire to undermine scriptural interpretations of reality and replace it with leftist interpretation. Now, you might say, if you're a leftist,
Right, because leftist and scriptural interpretations of the world are completely at odds.
Yeah, leftists.
so that's a good thing. But that's fine. Just don't call yourself a Christian, because last I checked. Now, you might say, if you're a leftist, well, that's scriptural interpretations of reality and replace it with leftist interpretation. Now, you might say, if you're a leftist, well, that's a good thing. But that's fine. Just don't call yourself a Christian, because last I checked, the Bible is kind of that authoritative place to understand what Jesus was talking about and what he believed. And I understand, the people who disagree with me, I've probably already lost. But
by the way, stylistic, yeah, it's socialist. But yeah, I mean, like the one thing too, like a stylist.
How could he sit there and dare to say that Christians can't be leftists? Like Jesus was the biggest leftist there was. Like, what?
I'm going to show you a book that tries to prove that he was a capitalist in a second. I'll show you. I'll show you after we're done this video. Hold on.
If you're still around and listening, I hope you listen very carefully, because what's at stake here is not just the slow creep of immorality in one of the most important institutions in America, but it is also the inability to define that which is sacred. And if nothing is sacred in society, then nothing will be protected. And eventually, it will impact you, whether you think it is already.
It's just an argument based on stakes. It's all saying I am connected with these superior stakes, like sacred versus just being a decent human being.
Therefore,
like they have to up the stakes.
Therefore, what I'm saying has merit, and you have to listen to me and be scared.
And that's what they're bullies, man. They are idiots.
Really are.
They're idiots, bullies, and cowards.
And they have no idea that the tactics that they're using in these videos are literally just like another form of bullying, because they think of bullying as some sort of like Hollywood cartoonish elementary school, like shove people around, like call people names, give noogies and stuff like that. No, it's psychological. It's entirely psychological. It's all about like a superiority complex. It's a desire to have supremacy over who you perceive to be weaker, whether it be intellectually or physically, and that's all this comes down to. Like, you're right, he's absolutely a fucking bully.
Ready or not. So the slow creep of immorality, we've seen it and seen the way the left has done it, and they've been quite successful at it. Incrementally, they've gone from safe, legal, and rare in the case of abortion to safe, legal, and accessible. Why did they do that? Well, because...
Actually, you're wrong, bro, in case you haven't been paying attention to the Supreme Court for the last year.
Yeah,
they know that if they go with safe, legal, and rare, then the rare part of that, they must define the sanctity of human life to necessitate the word rare. Well, they didn't want...
No, they don't. They don't even frame it like that. Listen to what he just said. He's ridiculous. He just puts words. It's such straw man putting words in people's mouths. This isn't even close to how the left frames abortion rights, reproductive rights, whatever you want to call it, family management or family planning.
And seeing the way the left has done it, and they've been quite successful at it. Incrementally, they've gone from safe, legal, and rare in the case of abortion to safe, legal, and accessible. Why did they do that? Well, because they know that if they go with safe, legal, and rare, then the rare part of that, they must define the sanctity of human life.
What? The rare? What did you? I mean, you're putting it in your framing, dude.
To necessitate the word rare. Well, they didn't want to do that, and so with one fell swoop, the Democratic caucus just recently came out and said, well, we're changing it to safe, legal, and accessible. And with just the stroke of a pen, the sanctity of life has been changed. And we also know the idea of the privacy of our own bedroom and what two consenting adults do has quickly changed into let your freak flag fly and let the kids see it. If there is nothing sacred in our society...
Wait. I haven't... So wait. Because I watched this, I don't remember this part.
Of life has been changed. And we also know the idea of the privacy of our own bedroom and what two consenting adults do has quickly changed into let your freak flag fly and let the kids see it. If there...
Well, I mean, so was he talking about like parents, like being really sexually like affectionate or something? And what's he talking about?
He can't stick to one topic, so he has to throw multiple vaguely related topics like against the wall altogether, like to make it seem like it's all correlated and all related when it's just fucking not. He can't stick to one thing and digest it. Oh god, this guy would be fucking schooled if he was actually in a debate with an actual fucking leftist.
If there is nothing sacred in our society, then there is no one who is safe, as Martin Niemöller said. First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and then they came for me, but there was no one left to speak out.
Okay, so this is my favorite. Conservatives love to talk about, how they're victimized for having their views, and that people are challenging their First Amendment rights. It's like, and I to that I say, I want you, conservatives, to be loud and proud with your ignorance, so we can see you coming. Give me that red hat.
Yeah.
Let me see it. Show it. Fly that Confederate flag. Beat that Bible, so I know to not take you seriously. I am just not. That way I know to not take you seriously and know that you are part of the problem.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to say, if the leftist or the liberal or the communist has a point, if they're right in what they say, then I want to be the first one to stand beside them and say, let the truth win, let the best ideas win. Fortunately,
No,
I can say that with full assurance, that Christianity has the best ideas, and those are the ideas that should win. And if we do not stand for them, we will find that
I'm going to show you his educational resume in a second.
there's much more crumbling underneath our feet.
So you just got done watching a small excerpt of a much...
He's obviously in Florida.
If he truly believed, like, oh, let the best ideas win, he wouldn't have such a fucking issue with the decline of Christianity right now, because clearly Christian ideas are not thriving right now in recent years. So dishonest. God. Reed Uberman,
All right.
huh? Let's take a look.
Oh, here we go. This is my favorite. Look at this education. Okay. High school. Studied theology at Lee University. Studied biblical theology at Bethany University. Wow, dude. Sounds like you got a really broad portfolio of information when you were supposed to be developing your independent thinking. You fucking...
Wow. It's so pathetic. Like, indie thinker, huh? Wow, you've really, like... What an intellectual. Like, you I can go to you about any fucking topic, like, obviously, huh? God. Yeah, this is gonna be a good clip for sure.
This is right here. Check it out. I don't know why it's not showing you that, but
Was
can you...
Jesus a capitalist?
Yeah, check that out.
No, because capitalism didn't exist back then. Next.
Yeah.
Like, why waste your time writing a book, like writing a book called "Well, Jesus is Capitalist"? Like, it should just be a one-page book, and the first page says, "No, Jesus wasn't the capitalist because capitalism wasn't invented for another fucking 17 centuries." Oh my God.
But they go into like how he talks about money and trade and all this other shit. I mean, they are convinced that it has all the answers. They are convinced that it answers all of the big questions in all aspects of life.
How fun.
And then you throw into, now that wouldn't necessarily be a problem if they weren't so intent upon you recognizing it and like giving it your, paying homage to it intellectually. They want to be intellectual equals with people that they are not intellectually equal to.
Exactly.
I mean, it just really is that simple. I mean, I'm sorry. It's not, and this is the thing I'm trying to like work on when I talk about offensive political tactics in my videos that I'm making, it's like, we're not better citizens than you because we're such amazing people. We're better citizens than you because your citizenship is such shit. Like, you complain about the First Amendment and how you're being abused for exercising your First Amendment rights. And your First Amendment is about defending a white supremacist in Trump, a guy who used to use bankruptcy laws to screw over working class people. like a guy who's anything close to resembling a Christian, but will still recruit their votes, and like they'll still back him with no qualifications. So I think like the hypocrisy is what drives me nuts, where they talk such a big game about being good people. If that were true, if that guy was a real Christian, he would be above that kind of those condescending things. And he would actually have if he would show videos of like progressive Christians and like in an appropriate context, and actually really be like, okay, this is from the horse's mouth. This is what this is what a progressive Christian said. And not just like 15 seconds, okay, but like a sermon, and like actually like this is what they really stand for. Or hey, I don't know, have one on as a guest, dude. Have one on as a guest and have a conversation.
No, exactly. And no, Christian apologists like him cannot do that because their brand depends on it. Literally, like it would require him being honest. It would require him being authentic, and you can't have that. No, like if he actually was secure in his beliefs, which he clearly isn't, then he would do that, and like he would have no issue having dissenting or opposing views, like on his channel or entering his fucking eardrums.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, just as a self-awareness moment, it would be hard for me to debate him and not like, I mean,
oh yeah,
not lose it.
Yeah,
and not,
no, for sure.
Not lose it. Like it would just be like, you're such a manipulator, you asshole. Like you're just it's just disgusting. Like it works for me, it should work for everybody. Like, dude, that's such narcissism.
No.
It's not. It's amazing to me how many narcissists we have in this country. Like it's I mean,
totally.
There are people, and people can have narcissistic qualities without being narcissists, but these people like hide behind the shroud of religion to justify their narcissism.
Exactly. 100% correct. I should reach out to him. I'll see if I can like try to get a debate with him. I think that'd be hella fun. Yeah.
All right, here we go. So Thunderbird, I want to give him his homage, and then we'll if there's anything else you want to talk about before we call it a day, we can do that. But I've had plenty of fun. Catholics have this is from Thunderbird. Catholics have a long history of anti-Semitism. Yes, that is true. It was custom for many centuries that the Pope perform anti-Jewish ceremony on their way to the Basilica. I have no doubt that that's true. Federalist Society screens Republican judges and tied to fascist cult Opus Dei, created in 1928 under Francisco Franco of Spain. I'll have to look into that second part, but I know what the Federalist Society is all about. Every Supreme Court judge they offered Trump are Catholics ahead of 2025. Interesting. Okay, you got anything else you want to cover, man? We've done 2 hours and 15 minutes, so I think this is our strongest stream so far.
Yeah, no, it was a blast. Nothing else, honestly. I think what I'll do is figure out how to, as conveniently as possible, clip out those two segments, I guess you could say, and schedule them to be posted on the channel later on during the week. One after the other. Yeah, this was really fun. I think our next step. I am actually very, very fond of the left coasts being the title of the show from here on out. So, if there's a way we could find out how to do like a banner, maybe even like create like an opening or something like that. I think that'd be awesome. Just like for the sake of consistency and for the sake of branding, that should probably be our next step.
Sure.
And see if for the next stream, which probably be next Monday, more than likely, right after. Actually, no, it can't be next Monday because I'm not going to be around. It would have to be next.
It's all good. We can talk. We can talk. Stateless. We can talk. I don't know. What do you want me to call you, by the way? Do you want to call you Stat?
You could. Well, I mean, you can probably just call me SP on here. Honestly, I mean,
SP?
I mean, like I don't think I've ever actually used my real name on the channel, but I mean, my
salt and pepper.
Fucking shit. I mean, like.
All right, yo,
this is-
let's
this
do
is-
housekeeping afterwards.
Yeah, that
Go
sounds
ahead.
good. That sounds good to me. Yeah, I think next Tuesday should work fine. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to like building to even more. I feel like there's a whole lot of potential behind it, especially if we do more
Oh,
reaction
dude.
videos like this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, start building a log of reaction videos that you want to do that either you haven't seen in a while
Yes,
or
you know what?
whatever.
I think that's
We'll just we'll just lead with the best stuff and it'll be great. All right, man, take care of yourself. Thank you to the audience. We will be back online a week from tomorrow. That is Tuesday, February 13th. We will talk about the Super Bowl. And by the way, sorry for I changed the title because we ended up talking about everything but sports, but it's all good. All right, dude, my salt and pepper. Talk to you later, man.
Yeah, dude. Have a good night. Thanks so much. Later.
All right, bye-bye.